Chapter 1666. The lifelong Realm Lord stared at Yi Qianyu's eyes. After that, he smiled. Do you really think so? Yi Qianyu didn't meet the lifelong Realm Lord's gaze. She lowered her head and smiled, naturally. If not, what does Realm Lord think? The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. He drank another mouthful of wine and suddenly asked, "Are you willing to serve me?" Yi Qianyu's body trembled slightly. After that, she shook her head. This lowly servant doesn't have such fortune. How can I be worthy of serving Realm Lord? What if I say I do? The lifelong Realm Lord asked again. Realm Lord, you should understand my heart. Yi Qianyu inclined her head and stared at the lifelong Realm Lord. At this moment, her beautiful eyes didn't conceal anything as she stared at the lifelong Realm Lord. The lifelong Realm Lord stared at her. After that, he smiled. I understand your intentions. I believe that your feelings for Qin Wentian are sincere. Also, everything you do is for his sake. You can leave now. Yes, Realm Lord. Yi Qianyu bowed and left with the people from the Red Dust Immortal Palace. After they left, the lifelong Realm Lord drank alone. All of a sudden, he spoke in a light voice, "Yu Huang, sit down." "I don't dare." Princess Kitamura shook her head. "If I tell you to sit, just sit." The lifelong Realm Lord spoke with some unhappiness. Princess Kitamura fell silent for a moment before she sat down beside the lifelong Realm Lord. "Pour wine for me." The lifelong Realm Lord spoke. Princess Kitamura hesitated a little, but she still obeyed. Her actions were very calm, just like her personality. "Can you understand the conversation between me and Yi Qianyu?" The lifelong Realm Lord stared at Princess Kitamura as he asked. Princess Kitamura nodded lightly and coldly spoke, "Realm Lord, you have killing intent towards my junior apprentice brother." The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. He stared at the side profile of Princess Kitamura as he spoke. "I originally shouldn't be so calculative with a subordinate. Also, when I met with him earlier, only Qin Wentian wasn't reprimanded by me. But in truth, he is the person I'm most worried about. For the sake of Yi Qianyu, he could keep a low profile until he killed the Lifire Empyrean. In that case, in the future, would he also act against me, the lifelong Realm Lord? Hence, Realm Lord allowed Yi Qianyu to choose. If Yi Qianyu chooses to serve Realm Lord, would Realm Lord be prepared to kill my junior brother? Princess Kitamura inclined her head and coldly stared at the lifelong Realm Lord. Upon seeing her eyes, the lifelong Realm Lord wasn't angry at all. He only smiled. Yi Qianyu has rejected. I also believe that she is an intelligent woman. For the sake of Qin Wentian, she should know what to do. But now, I'm still hesitating. I don't understand. Princess Kitamura shook her head. Why would the Realm Lord treat my junior apprentice brother like this? You've always had your guard up against him. Where is your master now? The lifelong Realm Lord suddenly asked, his words causing Princess Kitamura to start. She didn't have a master, but right now, the first person she thought of was the crazy old freak she met in the Forbidden Grounds back then. It was because of him that she and Qin Wentian got acquainted. Also, they could be considered to be from the same sect. Since the Realm Lord asked this, she could only reply, "Master is like a mysterious dragon whose whereabouts are unfathomable. I also have no idea where he is now." You really don't know why I have my guard up against Qin Wentian? The lifelong Realm Lord stared at Princess Kitamura. Princess Kitamura didn't evade. She shook her head. Right now, there's someone recommending Qin Wentian to be the new Lifire Palace Lord, and there are also people advising me to be on guard against him. I'm currently considering how to handle this matter. He is your junior apprentice brother, what do you think? The lifelong Realm Lord asked Princess Kitamura. I naturally hope that the Realm Lord can put my junior apprentice brother in an important position. I also believe that if he becomes the Lifire Palace Lord, he would definitely be able to do a good job. Princess Kitamura directly replied. Let him become the Lifire Palace Lord. The lifelong Realm Lord mumbled. It wasn't impossible for Yi's disciple to become the Lifefire Palace Lord. However, Yi's other disciple had to have a closer relationship with him first. I heard that the relationship between you and your junior apprentice brother is very deep. Back then, because of you, he went to Jelan Emperor's city to rescue you. When he was in danger, it was Yi Qianyu who saved him. If you want him to become one of the World Palace Lords, it's impossible for Yi Qianyu to continue staying in the lifelong Saint Hall. I don't want to be like the Lifefire Empyrean and be hated by his subordinates. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. If Qin Wendian became the Lifefire Palace Lord, Yi Qianyu would be released as well. This was truly a perfect ending. Qin Wendian would definitely be very happy, right? Upon seeing the bright light in Princess Kitamura's eyes, the lifelong Realm Lord smiled and asked, Yu Huang, you have been by my side for quite some time already. In the future, are you willing to serve me forever? Princess Kitamura's heart trembled when she heard this. Her beautiful eyes involuntarily trembled. She stared at the lifelong Realm Lord, only to see a warm smile in his eyes. It was like he had just said something insignificant. However, these words caused great waves to surge in Princess Kitamura's heart. At this instant, she thought about many things and soon understood the lifelong Realm Lord's intentions. He didn't act like the Lifefire Empyrean and used Yi Qianyu as a hostage to threaten her. Since he planned to use Qin Wendian, he might as well release Yi Qianyu as well. However, he was still worried and wanted to win over Qin Wendian. Hence, he said this. She was different from Yi Qianyu. She was Qin Wendian's senior apprentice sister. If this senior apprentice sister became the lifelong Realm Lord's woman, wouldn't the relationship between the lifelong Realm Lord and Qin Wendian grow closer? Princess Kitamura didn't know that the lifelong Realm Lord had another consideration. From the perspective of the lifelong Realm Lord, he naturally didn't want to use Qin Wendian. However, he couldn't really touch Qin Wendian either. After all, Qin Wendian had a master. Hence, he could only use Qin Wendian. However, if he used Qin Wendian, he would feel somewhat unhappy. He already had the Gemini Palace Lord. Now, did he have to use the Lifefire Empyrean as well? Hence, he wanted to keep Princess Kitamura by his side. Since one of his disciples became the Lifefire Empyrean, the other disciple would be his woman. In addition, he wouldn't force things. If Princess Kitamura rejected, it didn't matter as well. Many scenes flashed through Princess Kitamura's mind. Back then, if it wasn't for her, Qin Wendian wouldn't have been trapped in the Emperor's city, Yi Qianyu wouldn't have been captured, and Qin Wendian wouldn't have fallen into this quagmire. In just a few tens of years, he had already reached this step, killing the Lifefire Empyrean. What would his future be like? She also wanted to see how far Qin Wendian could go. Sure. A smile actually appeared on Baiming Youhuang's face. At this moment, there was a hint of gentleness in her cold eyes. This caused the lifelong Realm Lord to be stunned. A cold beauty like Baiming Youhuang would actually have such a side to her. Also, her smile was very sincere, like this was what she wanted from the start. Ha! The lifelong Realm Lord laughed uproariously. Staring at the flawless countenance of Princess Kitamura, he spoke, Okay, Yu Huang. It's just that I have to trouble you a little. The lifelong Realm Lord already had wives and concubines. Since Princess Kitamura was serving him, she naturally could only be a concubine. Princess Kitamura casually smiled. She naturally didn't mind, she didn't mind at all. Because, her heart basically wasn't here. I won't announce this matter to the public for now. I will find an opportunity to hold a grand banquet to welcome you into my sect. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled warmly. Yi's disciple, although she didn't know who her master was, as the lifelong Realm Lord, he wouldn't allow her to be wronged. He would respect all her wishes. Even if he knew about this, he wouldn't be able to say anything, right? Princess Kitamura nodded lightly. I'll go and rest first. Go ahead. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. Princess Kitamura turned and left. Her eyes were still as cold as before, without any fluctuations. By doing this, it could be considered as helping him. The lifelong Saint Hall was as calm as ever. It was like they weren't too shaken by the death of a palace lord. However, a huge wave of commotion had already risen in Lifire City. The 9 monarchs of the Lifire Palace all came to the Lifire Palace, waiting for news. After Qin Wentian and the others returned, there were people from the lifelong Saint Hall who announced the lifelong Realm Lord's command, allowing Qin Wentian to temporarily take over the Lifire Palace. Everyone in the Lifire Palace was filled with trepidation. Their loved ones in the Lifire Palace were all shocked, feeling a deep fear in their hearts. Qin Wentian immediately commanded the evil emperor, the central governor Sun Qian, and the eastern governor Lin Ba to lead their troops into the Lifire Palace, directly suppressing the Lifire Palace. With the arrival of the army, in addition to Qin Wentian's tyrannical strength, who would dare to resist? The majestic Lifire Palace was in a state of chaos. Experts could be seen everywhere and battles would occasionally erupt. There were some trusted aides of the Lifire Empyrean who wanted to flee, but they were all intercepted. Qin Wentian stood arrogantly in the air above the Lifire Palace. His might radiated out in all directions as he spoke. Whoever dares to leave the Lifire Palace will be killed without mercy. A terrifying might swept over the Lifire Palace, causing all the experts to tremble. Qin Wentian spoke again. Everyone in the Lifire Palace, including the various monarchs and governors, from now on, no one is allowed to take a single step out of the Lifire Palace. If anyone wants to leave, they have to obtain my permission first. What qualifications do you have to give orders? Someone questioned. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. With a single glance, a resplendent light flashed, directly penetrating through the eyes of that person, causing that person to scream in pain. Everyone was trembling. By the Realm Lord's orders, I'm temporarily acting as the Grand Governor of the Lifire Palace and will be in charge of everything in Lifire City. If anyone dares to question the Realm Lord's orders, they will be killed without mercy. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Is there anyone else who is unhappy? Many people were unhappy, but no one dared to say anything. Even the 9 monarchs were unhappy. However, who would dare to stand out? If Qin Wentian was at the immortal emperor realm, they would dare to fight for his position. But Qin Wentian has already stepped into that realm. In that case, they could only look up to him in admiration. This governor, who many people weren't familiar with and had only met once, was now above everyone. In fact, he might even become the new Lifire Palace Lord in the near future. The governor's Manor's army is to guard the palace walls. Without my orders, no one is allowed to leave. Everyone is to wait for the Realm Lord's orders in the Lifire Palace. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. He only controlled everyone and didn't openly take revenge on the people of the Lifire Palace. Right now, the Lifire Palace Lord hasn't given the final order yet. It was better not to be too brazen. Before the final moment, no one knew who the new Lifire Palace Lord would be. Chapter 1667. Di Tian was only punished lightly, Qin Wentian wasn't punished at all. Also, the news of him temporarily taking over the position of Grand Governor circulated around Lifire City, causing countless people to be shocked. They all speculated that there was a high possibility that the new Lifire Empyrean would be Qin Wentian. After all, Qin Wentian was the governor of the northern city regions and had outstanding talent, able to fight against the Lifire Empyrean alone. Naturally, the possibility of Di Tian taking over was also very high. All of this was planned by him. Sometimes, people would think that maybe Grandmaster Di really didn't form an alliance with Qin Wentian. If Qin Wentian didn't appear, the new Lifire Empyrean would definitely be in Di Tian's hands. Jialan Jiangshan was directly ignored by everyone. Everyone understood that the position of the new Lifire Empyrean wouldn't be his. At this moment, in the headquarters of the Jialan clan in the northern city regions, the atmosphere was somewhat heavy. Many people of the Jialan clan were gathered here. Jialan Yuntian sat in the leader's seat and asked, "Is there still no news from the lifelong Saint Hall?" "Nope, everyone is waiting." Someone replied. However, the support for Qin Wentian and Di Tian is very high. Many people feel that the Realm Lord wouldn't directly send someone from the lifelong Saint Hall and would choose one of them to be the new Lifeire Empyrean instead. Humph! A cold snort rang out. An elder of the Jialan clan smashed the table in front of him. His expression was extremely unsightly as he spoke. This time around, our Jialan clan has been completely played by Di Tian. How laughable. During these tens of years, we contributed a lot to the Emperor Pavilion's development. But now, all of us have become mere foils, helping others to make up for it. Everyone had heavy expressions on their faces. Many people turned their gazes towards Jialan Chuyue. Jialan Chuyue stood up and spoke in a low voice, "This matter is all my fault. I was blind and implicated my clan. Chuyue, this has nothing to do with you. Before this, I've always been the one who wanted to ally with Di Tian." Jialan Jiangshan spoke. "Actually, during the grand banquet that year, I've already seen some clues. At that time, I should have been on my guard. It's just that his growth is too fast, so fast that no one expected it. Yeah, who would have expected that he has already stepped into the Empyrean realm and is now a half-step world overlord? If we knew about this, we would have been even more cautious during this battle. Di Tian has truly hidden his strength too deeply." Someone spoke. "In the future, how should we interact with him?" Upon hearing this, everyone fell silent. That's right, how should they interact with Di Tian in the future? Although they were made use of by Di Tian's current status was even more transcendent. Just based on his strength alone, it was sufficient for him to be lofty. In addition to the strength of the Emperor Pavilion that wasn't weaker than the Jialan clan, right now, Di Tian and the Emperor Pavilion had already completely established themselves. Their strength wasn't inferior to the Jialan clan at all. If they became enemies with Di Tian, they would have one more terrifying enemy. Let's wait for the news. Jialan Yuntian sighed softly. Right now, the matters of the Emperor Pavilion were no longer something he could decide. He needed his father to make the decision. The Jialan clan was here, everyone in the Emperor Pavilion was waiting as well. After the battle in the airspace above the northern governor's manor, Di Tian rose to fame and the Emperor Pavilion submitted to him wholeheartedly. Right now, everyone treated Di Tian as their faith. Everyone in Lifeire City was waiting. The lifelong Realm Lord could decide who the new Lifeire Palace Lord would be with a single thought. However, this thought of the lifelong Realm Lord would be able to affect the future of the Lifeire Palace. Today, in the Lifeire Palace, the army of the governor's manor was still guarding this place. Everyone in the Lifeire Palace had no way to calm their hearts. Everyone was incomparably nervous and there were also some who were filled with anticipation. However, those who were once the Lifeire Empyrean's trusted aides and family only felt fear. They knew that regardless of whether it was Qin Wentian or Di Tian who became the Lifeire Palace Lord, they wouldn't have a good ending. The teleportation array in the Lifeire Palace suddenly lit up. The resplendent light illuminated all directions, causing countless gazes to turn over. Only the lifelong Saint Hall could directly use this teleportation array to reach the center of the Lifeire Palace. But this teleportation array was rarely used. But now, when the light from the teleportation array lit up, countless gazes of the Lifeire Empyrean turned over. It was like they had been waiting for a very long time. Within the grand formation, a group of figures appeared. They directly soared up into the air, standing in the airspace above the Lifeire Palace as a resplendent light radiated from them. The person in the lead took out a holy book and slowly unfurled it. Numerous words shimmered from within, entering the vision of the spectators, directly spreading out in the air. Every word was incomparably clear, dancing in the air. At the same time, the voice of the person from the lifelong Saint Hall rang out. The lifelong Realm Lord has issued an order. The position of the Lifeire Palace Lord will be taken over by the former northern governor, Qin Wentian. That voice and the words flowed together, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble, causing their hearts to pound unceasingly. 3 days later, there will be envoys from the lifelong realm coming here to congratulate the new Lifeire Palace Lord. At the same time, the position of Vice Palace Lord will be taken over by the former Supervisory Commander, D. Tion. D. Tion will also be the Grand Governor and Supervisory Commander of the Lifeire Palace. As the sound of this voice faded, the entire Lifeire Palace turned so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. The new Lifeire Palace Lord, Qin Wentian. D. Tion will be the new Lifeire Palace Lord. Finally, between Qin Wentian and D. Tion, the lifelong Realm Lord chose Qin Wentian. However, the lifelong Realm Lord also created a new position for D. Tion. The meaning behind this was extremely profound. From today onwards, Qin Wentian would control the boundlessly vast regions of the Lifeire Palace, becoming the new overlord of Lifeire City. He would lead the 9 monarchs and control the boundlessly vast regions. From today onwards, no one would pursue the death of the Jialan monarch. Even if Qin Wentian was the one who killed the Jialan monarch, no one would dare to investigate further. This case would become an unsolved mystery. From today onwards, Qin Wentian no longer needed to endure in the Lifeire Palace. He would be the #1 character in the Lifeire Palace. Qin Wentian, do you have any objections? In the air, the person who announced the Realm Lord's order turned his gaze to the white-robed figure below. It was none other than Qin Wentian. This subordinate Qin Wentian thanks the Realm Lord's kindness. I will definitely help the Realm Lord to manage the Lifeire Palace's territories well. Qin Wentian bowed slightly as he respectfully spoke. He was very surprised. He initially thought that the position of the Lifeire Palace Lord wouldn't belong to him and might belong to D. Tion. Although that didn't matter, because they were originally one. He had already made preparations. However, contrary to his expectations, the lifelong Realm Lord actually allowed him to take over the position of the Lifeire Palace Lord. Could it be that the lifelong Realm Lord had become magnanimous? Palace Lord Qin, you can organize the Ascension ceremony 3 days later. At that time, I will come again. Also, the Realm Lord has prepared a surprise for you. The person in the air laughed. The way he addressed Qin Wentian had already changed. He should be referring to him as Palace Lord Qin instead of Governor Qin. This subordinate has no way to repay the Realm Lord's kindness. Qin Wentian was still polite and respectful. No matter what the lifelong Realm Lord's intentions were, he mustn't be complacent and forget himself. At this moment, he had to be even more cautious. Farewell. You should settle the matters of the Lifeire Palace first. See you 3 days later. The other party bid farewell. After that, he flew towards the spatial formation and left the Lifeire Palace. After the people from the Hall of Longevity left, everyone raised their heads and looked at the white-robed figure in the sky. At this moment, that peerless figure seemed to have become even more outstanding. The current him not only possessed extraordinary strength, he also possessed extraordinary authority and status. Your subordinate pays our respects to the Palace Lord. We pay our respects to the Palace Lord. The people of the Northern Governor's Manor all knelt on one knee. They stared at the white-robed figure in the air, as though they were paying respect to a god. Their faith, their Lord Governor, was now the new Lifeire Palace Lord. As everyone bowed, more and more experts knelt on one knee. There were countless people in the Lifeire Palace. More than half of them knelt on one knee, expressing their boundless reverence. Your subordinates pay our respects to the Palace Lord. The 9 monarchs of the Lifeire Palace all bowed as well. Although they didn't kneel on the ground, they did bend their waists in a respectful manner. Even if they had some thoughts in their hearts, they didn't dare to reveal it. From now onwards, Qin Wentian would control their fates. 9 monarchs, listen up. Qin Wentian stared at the 9 monarchs as he spoke. Yes. The 9 monarchs replied, staring at Qin Wentian. They didn't expect that the moment Qin Wentian became the Lifeire Palace Lord, he already started giving out orders. During these few days, the Lifeire Empyrean had a group of people plotting against the Lifeire Palace, wanting to incite a rebellion. The 9 of you, investigate this group of people and send them to the various mines under your control. Qin Wentian spoke. The trusted aides and family members of the former Lifefire Empyrean all turned pale. They naturally understood that the group of people Qin Wentian was referring to was none other than them. Now that Qin Wentian had become the Lifefire Empyrean, how could he not kill them all? In addition, they all knew how Beauty Xiao died. Yes. The 9 monarchs directly led their troops into action. Those people wanted to rebel, wanting to flee, but under the heavy encirclement, they were like ants trying to shake a tree. Many of them were crippled, and not long after, some died, some were injured. Qin Wentian, who was in the air, calmly watched everything. He didn't feel any pity at all, his heart was like stone. Humans would eventually have to pay the price for their actions. A massive reorganization was carried out in the Lifefire Palace, and the news of Qin Wentian becoming the Lifefire Empyrean circulated to every corner of Lifefire City. Today, in Lifefire City, there was only a single topic of discussion. Qin Wentian had become the Lifefire Palace Lord. 3 days later, the sunlight cascaded down on the majestic Lifefire Palace. Numerous ancient palaces stood there quietly, exuding a sense of holiness. The interior of the Lifefire Palace was very quiet, but outside the Lifefire Palace, it was bustling with activity. Countless people surrounded the area, forming a long line of human heads. Today was the grand ascension ceremony of the new Lifefire Palace Lord, Qin Wentian. Countless people from Lifefire City came here to spectate, including the various peak powers of Lifefire City. At the entrance of the Lifefire Palace, there were countless people ascending the flight of stairs. No one dared to fly in the air, all of them were respectfully walking up. They were all people from the major powers who came here to offer their congratulations. The 9 monarchs, the governors, the Xianyuan clan, and many other major powers of Lifelong City have all arrived. The peak powers of the Lifefire Palace have all arrived as well. There was naturally no need to mention the major powers of Lifefire City. In fact, even the Jialan clan has arrived. Jialan Jiangshan led Jialan Yuntian, Jialan Chuyue, and the others here personally. They walked up the flight of stairs and inclined their heads, staring at the countless people who came here to pay their respects. At this moment, the hearts of everyone from the Jialan clan were filled with boundless emotions. The young man who was once a nobody and was humiliated by the Jialan monarch was now the Lifefire Empyrean, enjoying the blessings of the people from all over the world. The young man Qin Wentian was now the new Lifefire Palace Lord. Chapter 1668. The stairway leading up to the Lifefire Palace was tens of thousands of meters tall, majestic, and boundless. Countless people who came to offer their congratulations were respectfully and piously climbing up. Below, the vast crowd stared at the sky. The glorious ancient palace was bathed in the sunlight, as if it was draped in a divine glow. Today was the day that the new palace lord, Qin Wentian, ascended the throne. The troops from the various governor manors have all arrived. They stood guard in all directions, each of them exuding a solemn and imposing aura, exuding an extraordinary aura. This was especially so for the people from the northern governor's manor. All of them had their heads held high, as though they felt honored. The new palace lord, Qin Wentian, was once their governor and came from their governor's manor. Back then, who would have thought that the young man who was transferred to the northern governor's manor would have such achievements today? Right now, the evil emperor has already been appointed as the governor of the northern governor's manor. He stood at the forefront of this army, and many of the vice-governors and attendants behind him had changed their faces. Back then, the people who betrayed Qin Wentian because of a single sentence from the Lifefire Empyrean were all replaced by him. Although they were forced to back then, betrayal was still betrayal. Even if they stood on the side of the Lifefire Empyrean back then, this indicated that they weren't loyal enough. Since they weren't loyal enough, they naturally wouldn't be used again. As for the other governors, other than Lin Ba and Sun Qian, everyone else was changed. The current Lifefire Palace had a completely new appearance. But regardless of the new faces or the old faces, all of them were incomparably solemn. They all understood that the era has changed. The new Palace Lord was much stronger compared to the previous Palace Lord. His rise in Lifefire City could be said to be a legend. They ascended the flight of stairs one after another, heading deeper into the depths of the Lifefire Palace until they saw the highest point of the Lifefire Palace, the Lifefire Great Hall. This was an open-air grand ancient palace. Every single stone pillar seemed to reach into the heavens, majestic and majestic. There were dragons and phoenixes carved on it, and the floor that was made from emperor's stones shone with a gorgeous luster. At the front of the Lifefire Great Hall, there was a throne on top of a flight of stairs. Below the throne, there was a flight of stairs that could accommodate several people. At this moment, there was a figure dressed in white sitting on the throne. His simple white robe did not give off any sense of majesty, and his handsome face did not look imposing either. However, when that extraordinarily handsome young man sat there, the crowd could only think of the word, peerless, to describe him. The new Lifefire Empyrean, Qin Wentian, was already seated on the throne. Beside him, the masked Di Tian stood there, surveying the people around him. These people were the protectors of the Lifefire Palace, the 9 monarchs, the governors, and other peak characters. Longevity City's Xianyuan clan congratulates Palace Lord Qin. Someone walked up the stairs and shouted. Jialan Jiangshan of the Jialan clan leads the members of the Jialan clan here to congratulate Palace Lord on your ascension to the throne. Jialan Jiangshan spoke in a loud voice. Mo Ting of Lifefire City's Mo clan congratulates Palace Lord Qin. The voices rang out unceasingly, shaking the entire Lifefire Palace. The people of the various governor manors all knelt on one knee, bowing in the direction of the Lifefire Great Hall. Central Governor Sun Qian leads the soldiers of the Central Governor's manor to pay our respects to Palace Lord. Sun Qian called out in a loud voice. He clasped his fists and bowed. The ordinary soldiers all knelt on one knee to show their respect. Eastern Governor Lin Ba leads the soldiers of the Eastern Governor's manor to pay our respects to Palace Lord. Countless people bowed, their voices shaking the sky. Outside the Lifefire Palace, countless people inclined their heads and stared at the majestic scene in the air. They only felt waves of emotion surging in their hearts. A brand new era of the Lifefire Palace was about to begin. Qin Wentian sat on the throne, staring at this scene as he sighed ruefully in his heart. Everyone in the world pursued the path of the strong, pursuing supreme strength. Because with strength, one would have everything. Such towering authority, being worshipped by tens of thousands of people, how shocking was this? Even though he wasn't infatuated with authority, he was still deeply shaken by this. This time, I, Qin, will still have to rely on everyone for the position of the Lifefire Palace Lord. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. Qin Wentian waved his hand. After that, everyone either inclined their heads or stood up, turning their gazes in the direction of the Lifefire Great Hall. Envoys from the Lifelong Saint Hall are here on the orders of the Realm Lord to congratulate Palace Lord. At this moment, another voice rang out. Qin Wentian wasn't surprised. 3 days ago, that envoy already said that he would come here and would give him a pleasant surprise. At this moment, from afar, a group of people could be seen walking over. They were carrying a palanquin as they arrived at the entrance of the Lifefire Great Hall. Qin Wentian stared at the palanquin, feeling a little puzzled. After that, the curtains parted as a beautiful and sexy figure slowly walked out. She inclined her head, her beautiful eyes staring at Qin Wentian. With a smile, it was as though she could topple the hearts of the world. Qin Wentian stood up from his throne. Staring at that beautiful silhouette, a radiant smile appeared on his face. Everyone was admiring the beauty of that maiden. She was clad in a fiery red long dress, exuding an incomparable charm. Her long dress reached the ground, further accentuating her sexy figure. She had a phoenix coronet on her head, exuding an incomparably noble aura, exuding a sense of sexiness, stunning the entire world. Many people already guessed her identity. Qin Wentian's legend was no longer a secret, it was widely spread around. He entered the Lifefire City and assumed the position of the Northern Governor. It was all for the sake of a single person, the bandit leader back then, Yi Qianyu. At this moment, a supreme beauty appeared before the new Lifefire Palace Lord Qin Wentian. Other than Yi Qianyu, there was no one else who could make the new Lifefire Palace Lord personally stand up. Palace Lord Qin, this time around, you have contributed greatly by calming down the chaos in Lifefire City. The Realm Lord will pardon Yi Qianyu's crimes and hope that you can govern the Lifefire Palace well in the future. You won't let down the Realm Lord's expectations. That envoy smiled. Qin Wentian had become the hero who calmed down the chaos. Naturally, this was merely a sentence from the Realm Lord. He was the master of the lifelong realm, whatever he said would be the law. I, Qin, will definitely not let down the Realm Lord's expectations. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. Emicham, I will bid my farewell then. That envoy nodded and directly departed, bringing the palanquin with him, leaving only Yi Qianyu behind. Qin Wentian walked down the stairs and came to the side of Yi Qianyu. His gaze was gentle as he stared at the supreme beauty before him. It has been tough on you during these years. Yi Qianyu smiled. She naturally could see the glorious scene before her, she could see the glory that belonged to Qin Wentian. She felt joy and pride from the bottom of her heart. Right now, he was no longer the young immortal king from back then. He was an expert who stood at the peak of Lifefire City. If you feel that it has been tough on me, why don't you marry me and make me the empress? Yi Qianyu didn't say anything, she transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian instead. That beautiful face of hers had a hint of devilish charm in it, instantly destroying the atmosphere. Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. This demoness, after so many years, she still hasn't changed at all. Staring at her, Qin Wentian's smile grew increasingly radiant. As expected, men only know how to talk nice. Yi Qianyu continued to transmit her voice. After that, she turned and stared at the countless figures before her. The charming smile on her face vanished, replaced by a dignified and noble look. She then spoke in a clear voice, "Today, Palace Lord Qin is ascending to the throne. There will be a banquet in Lifefire City for 3 days with delicacies and fine wine. Everyone can eat and drink to their heart's content. Palace Lord Qin will bear all the costs." The Yi Qianyu at this moment exuded the aura of a motherly model of the world. Countless people stared at her beautiful silhouette as they silently mused in their hearts. Most probably, this Yi Qianyu would become the mistress of the Lifefire Palace from now onwards. "Thank you, Palace Lord." Everyone congratulated in unison. Everyone had smiles on their faces, their gazes filled with respect when they looked at Yi Qianyu, not daring to profane her. This was the woman of the new Palace Lord, they could only admire her. Among the crowd, Jialan Chuyue stared at that beautiful silhouette. She was confident that her beauty was unrivaled and there were few in Lifefire City who could compare to her. However, the Yi Qianyu now was even more outstanding compared to her. The light of the entire Lifefire Palace seemed to be gathered on her. The radiance of Qin Wentian also belonged to her. The Jialan Chuyue right now, how would she feel? Could it be that the clouds parted and the moon shone brightly? It was just that it was a pity for Beauty Xiao. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes involuntarily turned to Di Tian. He was still as mysterious and quiet as before, like even if the sky collapsed, his expression wouldn't change. He was always so confident, even if he didn't assume the position of the Lifefire Empyrean, he didn't seem to have any objections. However, did he really not have any objections? After setting up such a heaven-shaking scheme, the position of the Lifefire Empyrean eventually landed in Qin Wentian's hands. The lifelong Realm Lord definitely had a deeper meaning for him to be a Vice Palace Lord. Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes turned over as she smiled at Qin Wentian. Her smile was like her scheme had succeeded. Her words earlier were like an announcement. She, Yi Qianyu, was now the female lord of this Lifefire Palace. Staring at the smile on her face, Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Before this, he had always been worried about this demoness. But now that she has returned, he most probably wouldn't be able to rest easy. Back then, he was tormented by this demoness to the point where he wished he was dead. Stepping out, Qin Wentian grabbed Yi Qianyu's hand. Yi Qianyu's body trembled slightly but she didn't reject. Her smile was so beautiful that it could topple the hearts of all living things. Qin Wendian held her hand and walked forward step by step. The young man was clad in white while the young woman wore a phoenix coronet and a red dress. They were like an immortal couple. The two of them walked to the top of the stairway and stared at the countless people below. Countless gazes of respect were directed at them. Qin Wendian tightened his grip on Yi Qianyu's hand as his gaze flickered with gentleness. There are some things I can't give you. However, if you want this empire, if I can conquer it, everything will be yours. Qin Wendian transmitted his voice. Yi Qianyu naturally understood his words. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a smile as tears actually flowed down her face. All the grievances she suffered through these years no longer mattered. Being able to see him today, being able to make such a promise to him, everything was worth it. I really wish to meet the person you can give everything to. Yi Qianyu's wet eyes were still filled with a smile. She felt somewhat jealous, she had never thought that she would be jealous of others. But right now, she was truly jealous. Qin Wendian said that he could give her everything but he couldn't give a woman the most precious position in his heart. She really wanted to see for herself, the unshakable position in Qin Wendian's heart. Who was the person sitting there exactly? Chapter 1669. After Qin Wendian Ascension ceremony, the Lifefire Palace hosted a grand banquet. The atmosphere in the ancient and majestic palace was extremely lively. The experts from the peak powers of Lifefire City have all arrived. In addition, these were all important characters. No matter what attitude they had towards Qin Wendian in the past, after Qin Wendian ascended to the Lifefire Emperor's throne, everything they had was now nothing more than dust. Right now, they could only have a single attitude. Respect. What sort of power was the Jialan clan? They were a peak power, even in Lifelong City. Jialan Jiangshan of the Jialan clan had even fought for the position of the Lifefire Palace Lord but failed. But even though Jialan Jiangshan was made use of by Di Tian, he still came here personally. From this, one could very well imagine what the other powers would do. Don't forget, Qin Wendian was still the prime suspect for the death of the Jialan monarch. But so what if Qin Wendian was the one who killed the Jialan monarch? Right now, that article could already be flipped. No one would pursue this matter anymore. Lifefire City was also incomparably lively. The vast majority of people were only discussing a single topic, the legendary character of Lifefire City, Qin Wendian. They would occasionally glance in the direction of the Lifefire Palace or personally head to the foot of the Lifefire Palace, staring up at the majestic ancient hall. No one dared to cause trouble in Lifefire City. The Lifefire Emperor has just ascended to the throne. If they caused trouble now, it would undoubtedly be an act of challenging his prestige. This was definitely an act of courting death. Don't forget, this was a character who could topple the previous Lifefire Emperor. He was even more terrifying compared to the previous Lifefire Emperor, a living legend. Seats could be seen everywhere in the Lifefire Palace. Qin Wendian and Yi Qianyu had already vanished. They held hands and after surveying the entire Lifefire City, they left, leaving everything to Di Tian to manage. Everyone naturally wouldn't know that Di Tian was none other than a clone of Qin Wendian. There was no difference no matter who stayed here. Many people came over to toast to Di Tian. Although the person who eventually sat on the throne was Qin Wendian, no one in Lifefire City dared to underestimate how terrifying Di Tian was. Don't forget that he was the one who orchestrated that plot. It could be said that Di Tian was the one who single-handedly brought down the previous Lifefire Emperor. The Jialan clan was made use of by him. The strength of the Emperor Pavilion in Lifefire City had already surpassed the Jialan clan. Also, Grandmaster Di, who had become a Vice Palace Lord, would definitely allow the Emperor Pavilion to grow even stronger in the future. Di Tian would at least become a Palace Lord in the future. Just based on his strength, talent, and intelligence, Di Tian would be able to become a Palace Lord. The Mo clan was the clan that benefited the most from Di Tian's rise to glory. They had been assisting Di Tian from the very beginning. Elder Mo Fei and the young miss of the Mo clan, Mo Junyi, had always been by Di Tian's side. As the Emperor Pavilion grew stronger, the Mo clan grew stronger as well. Right now, the people of the Mo clan were all sitting at Di Tian's table, all of them extremely respectful. Di Tian's status was completely different now. Just based on his Empyrean cultivation base, he could only be looked up to. Mo Ting also didn't mention the matter between Mo Junyi and Di Tian again. If it could be said that he wronged Mo Junyi by sending her to the Emperor Pavilion back then, from a certain perspective, Mo Junyi was no longer worthy of Di Tian. Also, the Jialan clan and Jialan Chuyue were both made use of by Di Tian. Mo Ting naturally wouldn't be able to do things as casually as he did in the past. If Di Tian truly had the heart, Mo Junyi would naturally be his woman. If Di Tian didn't mention it, the Mo clan wouldn't dare to ask Di Tian to repay the kindness he had shown them in the past. At this moment, a beautiful figure walked to the side of Di Tian. Jialan Chuyue was clad in a long blue dress today, appearing extremely beautiful. Her beautiful eyes stared at Di Tian as she smiled. "Vice Palace Lord Di, can I speak a few words with you alone?" "Chuyue." Di Tian called out in a low voice, staring at Jialan Chuyue. "Jialan Chuyue, come back." Not far away, Jialan Chuyue's father, Jialan Cheng, called out. However, Jialan Chuyue acted like she didn't hear it. She continued to stare at Di Tian. "Right." Di Tian stood up and brought Jialan Chuyue to a pavilion. This place was extremely quiet, and by sitting there, one could view the scenery of Lifire City from afar. Because the terrain was higher and there were no obstructions, the wind was stronger, causing Jialan Chuyue's long hair and dress to flutter. "Vice Palace Lord Di, Grandmaster Di, how should I address you?" Jialan Chuyue was still smiling. However, her beautiful eyes were filled with resentment. Di Tian naturally could hear it from her voice. "Chuyue, why must you be so polite with me? Just call me Di Tian like in the past." Di Tian bitterly smiled. If it was said that he had hatred for the Jialan clan in the past, now that the Jialan monarch has already been killed and Yi Qianyu has been rescued, in addition to the fact that he made use of the Jialan clan and Jialan Chuyue, Di Tian no longer had any resentment towards the Jialan clan. This was especially so for Jialan Chuyue. He always felt some guilt towards her. Because, he knew that the most talented young miss of the Jialan clan had truly fallen in love with him. "Right." Jialan Chuyue smiled. She suddenly stretched out her hand, wanting to remove Di Tian's mask. Di Tian's eyes flashed as a terrifying light shot out from them. An unexcelled pressure bore down on Jialan Chuyue, forcing her to retreat. Di Tian coldly spoke, "Chuyue, what are you doing?" Jialan Chuyue stared at him and smiled, "I want to see you clearly. I want to see what kind of face is hidden beneath your mask, as well as what kind of heart you have." Di Tian stared at Jialan Chuyue in a daze. He only saw that her smiling eyes suddenly turned moist as tears flowed down unceasingly. Her emotions of pain and sadness were all completely exposed. "Chuyue, don't blame me. Back then, the Jialan clan forced me to stand on their side. Didn't they use sinister methods as well? What's the difference between that and what I'm doing now?" Di Tian stared at Jialan Chuyue as he spoke. "Is that the same?" Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Di Tian as tears flowed down unceasingly. The smile on her face had completely vanished, only sadness was left. "The Jialan clan did indeed act against you back then, but that was an obvious act of oppression. What about you? You made use of your friendship with the Jialan clan, my clan helped you so much, I treated you wholeheartedly and even wanted to become your woman. What about you? Leaving aside the matter of repaying me, how did you treat me and my clan? Deceiving me, making use of me. Everything is a lie." Jialan Chuyue sobbed. "During these years, you have been avoiding me. Even if you directly rejected me or acted against my clan, I would still accept it. But, why must you lie to me? If you hate the Jialan clan for what they did to you back then, you can kill me. I'll also accept it. You can do it now. Di Tian stared at the aggrieved look on Jialan Chuyue's face as guilt filled his heart. He shook his head, there's no need to say anything more. I have my own difficulties as well. In the future, the grudge between me and the Jialan clan will be erased. As long as the Jialan clan is willing, we can still be friends. Difficulties? Why don't you tell me what your difficulties are? Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flickered with stubbornness as she stared at Di Tian. She had fallen too deep. Their relationship had lasted for tens of years. As long as Di Tian was willing, she would have already become his woman. However, everything was overturned in a single day. What did these tens of years count for? Right now, she only wanted an answer. She hoped that Di Tian really had his own difficulties. If that was the case, she would feel better. This concerns a secret, I can't tell you. Chuyue, you just have to understand that I have no intention of harming you. Di Tian sighed. I can help you keep this secret. Jialan Chuyue continued to stare at Di Tian. Di Tian shook his head. The implications of this matter were too great. Even if he trusted Jialan Chuyue, who could guarantee that Jialan Chuyue wouldn't leak this matter to her clan? Once she did, it would be extremely disadvantageous to him. Jialan Chuyue took out a divine weapon that radiated a terrifying sharpness. She placed the weapon on her neck and directly sliced open her skin, causing fresh blood to flow. What are you doing? Di Tian roared. Although my clan didn't punish me, I'm already a sinner of my clan. Now that I've been deceived by you for so many years, my heart is already like dead ashes. If I can't get an answer, I'd rather die. Jialan Chuyue was incomparably stubborn. The sharp weapon pierced through her skin, causing her blood to drip onto her blue dress, dyeing it red. Di Tian's gaze froze. He didn't expect Jialan Chuyue to be so stubborn. If I die, your secret will remain a secret. Can you let me die knowing why? Jialan Chuyue spoke. Di Tian waved his hand as a powerful sealing energy gushed forth, sealing this space. He sighed and spoke to Jialan Chuyue. Do you know why Qin Wentian hates the Jialan monarch so much? There's a huge grudge between the Jialan monarch and Qin Wentian. I know everything from start to finish. He has a reason to hate my uncle and the Jialan clan. But does this have anything to do with you? Jialan Chuyue asked. Di Tian placed his hand on his mask and slowly removed it. A handsome face appeared in Jialan Chuyue's vision. At this moment, Jialan Chuyue's heart pounded violently. The divine weapon in her hand loosened as it fell to the ground, emitting a crisp sound. Her body trembled uncontrollably, there were no words that could describe her current state of heart. Are you satisfied now? A different voice rang out from Di Tian's mouth. He sighed in his heart. Ultimately, it was still too easy for him to be soft-hearted. He couldn't be as cold and emotionless as before. Night, in the lifelong Saint Hall, in the courtyard of Princess Kitamura, she stood there and stared at the starry space. She took out her messaging crystal and placed it down. He should have already sat on the throne of the lifelong Saint Hall. Right now, he should be the center of attention. He must be very busy. Princess Kitamura smiled. After that, she kept her messaging crystal and didn't congratulate Di Tian. A figure appeared behind Princess Kitamura. Princess Kitamura turned and stared at the person who came, Realm Lord. Yu Huang, Qin Wentian has already ascended to the Realm Lord's throne. Right now, the Lifefire Palace is extremely lively. I've sent Yi Qianyu back as well, I hope he won't blame me. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled. He had always felt that Princess Kitamura and Qin Wentian had a relationship of apprentice sister and brother. He believed that if he bestowed the position of the Lifefire Palace Lord and released Yi Qianyu, Qin Wentian would surely be filled with gratitude, right? Naturally, I'll thank Realm Lord on behalf of junior apprentice brother Qin. Princess Kitamura smiled. The lifelong Realm Lord waved his hand. You are my woman, there's no need to be so polite. Let's not waste the beautiful scenery tonight. Yu Huang, come with me to my palace. Realm Lord, the title hasn't been confirmed yet. It's inappropriate. Princess Kitamura spoke in a light voice. You are right, I was too anxious. After living for so many years, I still can't resist the temptation of beauties. The lifelong Realm Lord shook his head. Since this is the case, during the next grand banquet, I will announce it to the world and bestow you with a title. Chapter 1670. Qianyu told me that you were in the lifelong Saint Hall. She met you before she left. That voice spoke again. Her hands were cold, she held on to the messaging crystal but she didn't know what to say. After that, a faint smile appeared on her face as she sent a strand of her immortal sense into the crystal. Congratulations. Mo Fei from the Mo clan will be the protector of the Lifire Palace. Mo Junyi will be the vice-governor of the Central City regions. Qin Wentian continued, are the two of you willing? Early the next morning, the warm rays of the sun cascaded in through the window. In the bedroom, Qin Wentian opened his eyes and glanced at the petite figure curled up in his embrace. After which, he shifted his gaze onto that flawlessly beautiful countenance and gently planted a kiss on her forehead. Staring at the ambiguous look in Yi Qianyu's eyes, Qin Wentian replied, what else? Maybe she really left. Yi Qianyu spoke in a light voice. After that, her ambiguous gaze turned to Qin Wentian. Her jade-like hand stretched out and hooked onto Qin Wentian's neck as a charming smile appeared on her face. Is Princess Kitamura really as simple as your senior apprentice sister? Palace mistress, your subordinates have enjoyed themselves to the fullest. A monarch laughed. In an extremely elegant room within the Lifire Palace, one could see the lights of the Lifire Palace from the window, as well as the scenery of Lifire City. Yu Huang. A voice suddenly rang out in her mind. Princess Kitamura's body trembled as she took out her messaging crystal. Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. He suddenly thought of the scene where Qing and Qingqing met with Yi Qianyu. He couldn't help but to smile bitterly as he felt a headache. Qin Wentian had no words to describe the wondrous feeling he was experiencing right now. He had completely fallen into a trance. After a long time, the dancing steps slowed down. The goddess under the moonlight walked step by step towards him with a smile that could charm all living things on her face. Qianyu, it's been so many years. I want to make it up to you. Qin Wentian stared at Yi Qianyu as he gently spoke. Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes softened, her watery eyes stared at him as she pouted coquettishly, how can you say such shameless words with a straight face? Yi Qianyu's eyelashes fluttered. After that, she opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were still a little blurry but after she sensed Qin Wentian's kiss, her eyes gradually brightened. Her delicate body arched into Qin Wentian's embrace as her gaze was filled with boundless gentleness. After the lifelong Realm Lord left, Princess Kitamura still stood at her original location, staring at the boundless starry space. The night wind gusted by, causing her long hair to flutter lightly. Her slender and beautiful silhouette exuded a sense of loneliness. You know about it? A shocked voice rang out from the other side. Yu Huang, where are you? The moonlight hung high up in the sky as astral light shone upon the luxurious residence at the peak of the Lifire Palace. The scenery inside and outside of the residence was incomparably beautiful. Let me perform a dance for you. Yi Qianyu gently spoke. The other side fell silent for a moment before a voice replied, I will. Yu Huang, you have to take care of yourself too. If anything happens, remember to tell me. Qin Wentian calmly nodded. Right now, since I'm the Lifire Palace Lord, I naturally have to govern the vast territories of the Lifire Palace well. The 9 monarchs should do their best to assist me. Yes, Palace Lord. We will definitely do our best. The 9 monarchs all bowed to express their loyalty. A rock in their hearts also fell. Seems like Qin Wentian didn't intend to touch their positions. They were truly worried that Qin Wentian would replace them with his trusted aides. Really? A doubtful voice rang out in his mind. Yu Huang said that she isn't in the lifelong saint hall. She went out to temper herself. Qin Wentian stared at Yi Qianyu as he spoke. When he saw that beautiful figure, he couldn't help but to glance at her. The Yi Qianyu at this moment was simply too beautiful. Is that so? Yi Qianyu coiled her hair up, straightening her robes. The charming smile on her face vanished, replaced by a faint smile of imposingness. She was like an incomparably noble queen, exuding boundless might. Yi Qianyu's lips twitched before she smiled again. Her gaze grew more and more mesmerizing. Qin Wentian stared at her beautiful countenance that was just inches away from him. His gaze shifted downwards, to her neck that was as white as a swan. And further down, to her curvaceous figure that would cause one's blood to surge, causing one to feel a strong urge to steal a peek at her. Yes, Palace Lord. The evil emperor and Su Li bowed. The others fell silent. Right now, who would still dare to doubt Qin Wentian's decision? It was only natural for him to nurture his own trusted aides. Princess Kitamura's cold eyes flashed with a gentle smile. She didn't reply and kept her messaging crystal instead. She stared at the starry space. There were still tens of years before the next grand banquet of the lifelong realm would be held. The lifelong realm lord would announce this to the world. If Qin Wentian learned of this, what would he think of her? How about this? Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian. There was no longer any charm, only imposingness. Qin Wentian was dumbfounded. This woman was truly fickle. Her demeanor instantly changed. Upon seeing Qin Wentian's appearance, Yi Qianyu giggled and became charming again. Don't forget that I was the palace lord of the Thousand Feathers Palace in the past. Now that I've become your woman, I naturally can only be charming in front of you. In front of outsiders, even if I can't be the main palace mistress, I should at least bring out the aura of a main palace mistress. If not, I might be bullied to death by your main palace mistress in the future. After she stood up, Qin Wentian's gaze was filled with a strange light when he stared at her. The Yi Qianyu today seemed to be different from before. She was less sexy and more dignified and noble. He was extremely clear about the personalities of Qing, and Qingcheng. Bullying Yi Qianyu? Seems like he had to teach this demoness a lesson in the future. He mustn't allow her to bully Qing, and Qingcheng. What's the matter? A gentle voice drifted over from behind. The moonlight shone down on Yi Qianyu's figure. She was clad in a fiery red phoenix dress, exuding a sense of holiness and nobility. Her snow-white skin glowed with radiance, resembling a goddess under the moon, causing the hearts of those who saw her to palpitate. This was especially so when she was so beautiful and sexy. Her phoenix dress fluttered in the wind and her eyes were filled with emotions. Qin Wentian had no way to describe the beauty of this moment. He sat at the edge of the bed and quietly admired the view. He felt that even the most beautiful scenery in the world couldn't be compared to this. Staring at the fiery gaze in Qin Wentian's eyes, Yi Qianyu's smile grew even more charming. Qin Wentian stretched out his hands, wanting to hug her. However, Yi Qianyu's body slid away the moment his hands touched her waist. She giggled, "You don't want to hold a wedding for me but you want to secretly eat me? Even if you can't become the main palace mistress, you can't be so biased, right?" Qin Wentian nodded. Yi Qianyu's back was facing the window. The moonlight cascaded down on her perfect figure and after that, she started moving, graceful and graceful. Her entire body seemed soft and gentle, as though there were no bones in her body. Her movements were light and graceful, causing people to fall into a trance, unable to extricate themselves. Qin Wentian nodded. Also, in the battle that day, many sinners died. There are many positions in the Lifire Palace that need to be adjusted. Right now, I'll officially appoint the evil emperor as a protector of the Lifire Palace. Su Li will take over the position of the northern governor. It's time to wake up. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. Qin Wentian had an evil smile on his face. After that, he directly lifted the blanket, causing a scream of shock to ring out. Qin Wendian smiled and stood up to change his clothes. Yu Qianyu hugged the blanket and changed into a fresh set of clothes as she stood up to wash up. Qin Wendian had a face filled with black lines, he had nothing to say. A soul-stirring voice rang out from her red lips, sounding like the sounds of the heavens. When Qin Wendian and Yu Qianyu walked over, everyone turned solemn, no longer chatting casually. They stared at the imposing Qin Wendian and the elegant Yu Qianyu, silently musing that the two of them were truly a perfect match. A vixen will always be a vixen. You can't change that. Qin Wendian smiled at her. Princess Kitamura replied in a light voice. Right now, my cultivation base is already at the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm. You don't have to worry about me. Congratulations to you and Yu Qianyu for experiencing so many things and finally being together. She suffered many grievances because of you, you have to treat her well. Qin Wendian's eyes brightened. Back then, Yu Qianyu's dance could topple an entire city, stunning the world. Even now, he couldn't forget it. Now, he finally had the chance to enjoy such a world-shaking dance. After that, there was another round of adjustments. The bandits who followed Yu Qianyu back then all had important positions. When they stared at Qin Wendian and Yu Qianyu, their gazes were filled with deep respect, silently musing that Emperor Qianyu's judgment was truly good. Back then, she had done so much for Qin Wendian, but now, when they saw the two of them seated on the throne, they felt that they were simply too perfect. This was destined to be a crazy night, a sleepless night. Qin Wendian had always exuded magnificence through the generations. Yu Qianyu was incomparably seductive back then, but now, she was elegant and dignified, exuding the might of a motherly model of the world. There were already people who set up another throne beside the Emperor's throne. This was naturally prepared for Yu Qianyu. What are you looking at? Yu Qianyu smiled charmingly at Qin Wendian. A sizzling sound rang out. Her fiery red dress tore apart inch by inch, transforming into flower petals that danced in the air, revolving around the goddess, enveloping the two of them. A flawless body appeared before Qin Wendian's eyes just like that. His eyes turned red as his heart pounded wildly. He could no longer control his emotions. His hands trembled as he stretched out his devil palms, wanting to ravage her. Let's go. The 9 monarchs are still here. The various governors and protectors are still waiting for you. If you don't say anything, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to leave with peace of mind. Yu Qianyu smiled. Qin Wendian nodded. The two of them walked out of this residence at the peak of the Lifire Palace, a place where no one would dare to disturb. This place was the Palace Lord's sleeping quarters and was protected by formations. During these few days, did all of you enjoy yourselves? Qin Wendian smiled at everyone. I was cultivating outside and heard the news of you becoming the Lifire Emperor. Princess Kitamura lied. Many thanks, Palace Lord. Mo Fei and Mo Jinyi expressed their thanks. They glanced at Di Tian. Seems like the relationship between the Palace Lord and Vice Palace Lord Di Tian was unexpectedly good. At this moment, Qin Wendian stood before the window and stared into the distance. He slowly put down his messaging crystal as the voice in his mind stopped ringing out. He didn't know why, but he felt a little down in his heart. He couldn't explain it clearly, but he should have been happy instead. Qin Wendian had already fallen into a trance, unable to extricate himself. He sat there unmoving as he stared at that beautiful figure walking over with a smile on her face. In the Lifire Great Hall, after the banquet ended, many experts gathered here. He was here before, but he has already left. Princess Kitamura spoke in a light voice. No. Yu Qianyu flipped her body, her back facing Qin Wendian. Chapter 1671. Qin Wendian continued giving out orders, reorganizing the Lifire Palace. The people below quietly listened, the entire Great Hall was silent, no one dared to say anything. Is the Jialan clan present? At this moment, Qin Wendian suddenly called out, his words causing Jialan Yuntian's eyes to flash. Jialan Jiangshan had already left. That day when he came to congratulate Qin Wendian on his appointment as the Lifefire Palace Lord, he left immediately after that. After all, Jialan Jiangshan himself was an Empyrean, it was naturally impossible for him to stay here and enjoy the banquet like the others. Present. Jialan Yuntian walked up. Are the people of the Jialan clan willing to take up a position in the Lifefire Palace? Qin Wendian suddenly asked, his words causing many people in the Great Hall to be puzzled. Everyone knew about the relationship between Qin Wendian and the Jialan clan. Right now, Qin Wendian wanted the people of the Jialan clan to take up a position in the Lifefire Palace? What did he mean by that? Did he want to reconcile? Jialan Yuntian's eyes flashed. He thought of Jialan Chuyue's words, as well as Jialan Jiangshan's instructions. He stared at the white-robed figure seated on the throne in the Great Hall and nodded. If Palace Lord has any orders, the Jialan clan will definitely do our best. Qin Wendian nodded. The Jialan clan has extraordinary strength in Lifefire City, and you have also contributed greatly in quelling the chaos this time around. The various governor manors are all lacking vice-governors and attendants. In the future, your Jialan clan should contact the people of the various governor manors, and if there are any suitable positions, just let the members of the Jialan clan take up the positions. Don't limit it to just the northern city regions. As the sound of his voice faded, the eyes of everyone gleamed. Qin Wendian actually allowed the people of the Jialan clan to take up important positions in the various governor manors. In this case, the Jialan clan has already completely infiltrated Lifefire City. In addition, among the 9 monarchs, there were also monarchs who had a good relationship with the Jialan clan. To the new Lifefire Palace Lord, this wasn't a good thing. Jialan Yuntian naturally understood this logic. He cast a deep glance at Qin Wendian as he sighed in his heart. This man was a heaven-defying genius, he basically didn't care about the infiltration of the Jialan clan. When one's martial prowess reached a certain level, no matter how shocking their schemes were, they would all be destroyed with a single sword strike. At the end of the day, this was still the world of martial arts. In the face of absolute power of martial arts, conspiracies and tricks were all small things. Therefore, the world favored martial arts. For Qin Wendian to be able to sit on the throne, it naturally wasn't just because of that plot. It was also because of the strength they used to defeat the previous Lifefire Empyrean. If not, they would have already died back then. Yes. Jialan Yuntian nodded, his heart filled with emotions. Qin Wendian basically didn't care about his Jialan clan at all. How arrogant and confident was this? Soaring to the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm within tens of years, surpassing his father Jialan Jiangshan. In the future, the gap between them would only grow wider and wider. Qin Wendian definitely had the qualifications to be proud. Governors, please cooperate with the Jialan clan. Qin Wendian glanced at the governors as he spoke. The governors all nodded in acknowledgement. The reorganization of the Lifefire Palace was finally completed. Qin Wendian glanced at Jialan Jiangshan. Right now, this could be considered as making up to the Jialan clan. Other than feeling a trace of guilt towards Jialan Chuyue, the relationship between him and the Jialan clan could be considered to be even. His achievements today were also inseparable from the Jialan clan. Most probably, Jialan Mingyue would never have imagined that her stubbornness back then would actually create a new Lifefire Empyrean. Alright, everyone can return to your respective positions. From now onwards, the Lifefire Palace will be handed over to everyone. Qin Wendian waved his hand, exuding incomparable imposingness. Everyone bowed and departed from the Lifefire Great Hall. After that, they turned and walked down the flight of stairs, only daring to soar into the air after they left the Lifefire Palace. The new Lifefire Empyrean had just been appointed. No matter who it was, no one dared to show any disrespect. Nobody knew what Qin Wendian's temper was like. After the crowd left, Qin Wendian and Di Tian exchanged mutual glances. After that, Di Tian's silhouette flashed as he soared into the air. Right now, Qin Wendian was in charge of the Lifefire Palace. However, Di Tian's Emperor Pavilion still needed to be developed. This was a power that could permeate the entire lifelong realm. Palace Lord. The evil emperor and Su Li both had smiles on their faces after the crowd left. They stared at the two people on the thrones. Who are you guys referring to as Palace Lord? Yi Qianyu giggled. The eyes of the evil emperor, Su Li, and the others flashed as they laughed. That's right, back then they referred to Yi Qianyu as Palace Lord. Now, Qin Wentian was the Lifeire Palace Lord. In that case, who should they refer to as Palace Lord? In the future, there will only be a single Palace Lord. You guys can refer to me as Madam. Yi Qianyu spoke. The evil emperor, Su Li, and the others also discovered Yi Qianyu's change. All of them smiled and called out, Madam. Amicham, you guys can leave as well. Don't disturb the world of the two of us. Little Lion, you will be the gatekeeper for me in the future. Yi Qianyu smiled. The evil emperor had a dumbfounded look on his face. He lowered his head and turned around. With a low roar, he transformed into a ferocious lion king. Su Li and the others laughed when they saw the dejected look on the evil emperor's face. They then followed him out. In the Lifeire Great Hall, only Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu remained. The dignified expression on Yi Qianyu's face vanished, replaced by a charming look. She smiled at Qin Wentian. How does it feel to sit on the throne and give orders? Qin Wentian couldn't help but smile when he saw Yi Qianyu's charming smile. No matter how good the feeling is, it still can't compare to the beautiful scenery last night. Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes flashed before she started giggling. Her voice was as gentle as water. In that case, this slave will serve husband well tonight. Staring at her charming eyes, as well as the dignified and noble silhouette of the queen, Qin Wentian felt an impulse to hug her. He cursed in a low voice, Vixen. In that case, does husband like it? Yi Qianyu gracefully shifted, sitting on Qin Wentian's body as she hooked her arms around his neck. What do you think? Qin Wentian carried Yi Qianyu in his arms. His silhouette flashed as he directly soared through the air, returning to the sleeping quarters at the peak of the Lifeire Palace. Very soon, Yi Qianyu's soul-stirring cries could be heard. The scenery was boundlessly good. Several months later, the Lifeire Palace gradually calmed down. The commotion of the past finally subsided and the topic of discussion in Lifeire City would only occasionally be mentioned. It was just that the legend of the new Palace Lord, Qin Wentian, and his wife, Yi Qianyu, became a story that many people loved to talk about. Also, there were many different versions of this story. However, no matter which version it was, the ending was perfect. They were like a celestial couple, causing everyone to feel envy in their hearts. Once, the scene of the new Palace Lord, Qin Wentian, holding Yi Qianyu's hand as they stood at the peak of the stairway outside the Lifeire Great Hall was something that could never be forgotten. That day, the two of them held hands as they stared down at the wind and clouds of the world. That day, tears of happiness flowed down Yi Qianyu's face. With regards to the legend of the Lifeire Palace, Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu didn't hear it. However, their lives during these few days were truly wonderful. This was especially so for Qin Wentian. He was tormented to the point where he wished he was dead. Yi Qianyu had always been a vixen that could charm people to death. The two of them were alone at the peak of the Lifeire Palace and were truly happy. During the evening, at the peak of the Lifeire Palace, Qin Wentian stood there and stared at the Lifeire city in the distance. The setting sun dyed the sky red, illuminating this majestic city with a layer of fiery light. The scenery was incomparably beautiful. Yi Qianyu quietly walked to the side of Qin Wentian. She gently leaned against him as she softly spoke, "Are you thinking of them again?" During these days, Qin Wentian had already told Yi Qianyu his story. From Qin Wentian, she learned of the existence of Qing'er and Qingcheng. These two beauties had been by Qin Wentian's side ever since he was young, accompanying him all the way until his death. One of them turned white while the other's heart died. Yi Qianyu also finally understood why she had been imprisoned for so many years, yet she had no way to shake their position in Qin Wentian's heart. After all, the experiences between her and Qin Wentian were simply too little. She also knew that in the heart of this young man who exuded magnificence through the generations, there were two beauties whom no one would be able to shake. She didn't have any extravagant hopes and only wanted to accompany him. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. Are you jealous? Nope. Yi Qianyu shook her head. I also wish to meet them. In the future, I will definitely get along well with them. Qin Wentian stared at Yi Qianyu with a look of suspicion in his eyes. This demoness, it was really dangerous. Upon seeing Qin Wentian's expression, Yi Qianyu placed her hand on Qin Wentian's waist and twisted it. Who asked you not to believe me? Okay, I believe you. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. He hugged Yi Qianyu's waist and let her rest on his chest. Qianyu, thank you for the wonderful things you brought me. So sour. Yi Qianyu rolled her eyes. You have been accompanying me for so many days. Tell me honestly, are you preparing to abandon me? Qin Wentian had a face filled with black lines. He bitterly smiled, can you not spoil the beautiful atmosphere? Hee. Yi Qianyu came out from Qin Wentian's embrace. Her charming eyes stared at him. Qin Wentian, I'm warning you. Don't even think about abandoning me. Qin Wentian felt a headache. This demoness was too smart. During these days, he had been accompanying Yi Qianyu, wanting to make up for the debt he owed her. For his sake, Yi Qianyu was imprisoned in the Lifeire Palace for so many years. After that, she was placed under house arrest in the lifelong Saint Hall. Qin Wentian found it hard to imagine how she managed to survive all these years. Now that they were together, he naturally had to accompany her well. There was also one more point that Yi Qianyu had guessed. He did indeed want to leave. Right now, he has already surpassed the immortal Emperor realm and stepped into the Empyrean Saint realm. It was sufficient for him to sweep through the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. So many years have passed, he had no idea how Qing'er and Qingqing were doing. In the Azure Mystic Immortal realms, there were still many people waiting for him to return. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't know how to return, he would have long set off. Right now, Qin Wentian already had his heart set on returning. He didn't want to wait any longer. He didn't know the consequences if he continued to wait. He didn't know if Qing'er and Qingqing would be in danger or not. I'll accompany you to Azure Mystic. Yi Qianyu stared at Qin Wentian, clearly already knowing what he wanted to do. No. Qin Wentian decisively rejected. Right now, he had no idea how to return. He might have to traverse the starry space and encounter spatial turbulence. This was simply too dangerous. Even with his cultivation base, he might not be safe, let alone Yi Qianyu. Chapter 1672. Yi Qianyu glared at Qin Wentian. Her beautiful eyes seemed to be able to melt the hearts of men. However, Qin Wentian seemed to have a heart of stone, he didn't waver at all. This concerned Yi Qianyu's safety, he couldn't afford to be careless. I also don't have too much confidence. Right now, I still need to head to the outside world to search for the coordinates of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Qin Wentian spoke to Yi Qianyu. The distance between the 33 immortal realms was boundlessly vast. If one didn't have the exact coordinates, they might get lost in the starry space. Yi Qianyu acted like she didn't hear it and continued to glare at him. Wentian. At this moment, a voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. His eyes flashed and he took out his messaging crystal. After that, he sent a strand of his immortal sense in, Brother Qi, is there any news? The Saint Lord has replied. The voice in his mind rang out once more. The person who spoke to Qin Wentian was none other than the Gemini Palace Lord. Before this, Qin Wentian had already contacted them and told them that he wanted to return to Azure Mystic. As for the Saint Lord the Gemini Palace Lord was referring to, it naturally wasn't him, Qin Wentian. It was the previous Saint Lord, Yi. What did Senior Yi say? Qin Wentian hurriedly asked. Saint Lord suggested that you can head to Tiandao's Sacred Academy. Tiandao's Sacred Academy has the spatial coordinates and can teleport to Azure Mystic. If Tiandao's Sacred Academy is willing to help, you don't need to teleport there yourself. The Gemini Palace Lord spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Tiandao's Sacred Academy, this name wasn't foreign to him. In fact, he was extremely familiar with it. Back then, he had once cultivated in Tiandao's Sacred Academy for many years and completed a transformation. The Heavenly Tao's Sacred Academy would only be able to enter Azure Mystic when ancient emperors were about to appear. And the truth also proved that the Heavenly Tao's Sacred Academy's prediction was accurate. Qin Wentian had already stepped into the realm represented by ancient emperors. In a sense, he was also a student of Tiandao's Sacred Academy. Now hearing about Tiandao's Sacred Academy from the Gemini Palace Masters, Qin Wentian felt that Tiandao's Sacred Academy seemed to be an extremely great force. Will Tiandao's Sacred Academy be willing to help? Asked Qin Wentian. Since you know about the Tiandao's Sacred Academy, you should have cultivated in Tiandao's Sacred Academy before, right? Even if the Tiandao's Sacred Academy isn't willing to help, there won't be much of a difference if you go there. That place is a sacred ground in the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Gemini Palace Lords laughed. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. A place that could be considered a sacred ground in the supreme ancient immortal realms, one could very well imagine how powerful it was. I don't have much understanding of the Tiandao's Sacred Academy. What sort of power is this? Where is it located? Qin Wentian asked. The students of the Tiandao's Sacred Academy can be found all over the world. It's rumored that the Tiandao's Sacred Academy has the coordinates of the other 32 immortal realms other than the supreme ancient immortal realms. They can directly teleport there and guide their juniors in cultivation. For those who have cultivated in the Tiandao's Sacred Academy before, all of them can be considered as students of the Tiandao's Sacred Academy. Also, the students of the Tiandao's Sacred Academy aren't limited to the other 32 immortal realms. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, the number of people who went to the Tiandao's Sacred Academy is countless. In fact, there are even many world overlords who went there to seek the Tao. The Gemini Palace Lords continued, and the location of the Tiandao's Sacred Academy in the supreme ancient immortal realms is Daoask City. That place isn't under the jurisdiction of any power. The Tiandao's Sacred Academy itself doesn't seek hegemony, it only wants to spread the Tao. If not, the Tiandao's Sacred Academy would already be a supreme power. In that case, the Tiandao's Sacred Academy is indeed a respectable force. Qin Wentian secretly praised in his heart. They did not seek hegemony, but only to preach. That's right, the Heavenly Tao's Sacred Academy is truly respected by everyone. Many world overlords are their students, and because they never participated in the struggle for supremacy in the immortal realms, there weren't any hegemonic powers that wanted to deal with the Sacred Academy. I heard that countless years ago, there was an extremely powerful devil character in the supreme ancient immortal realms who established a peak devil sect. He coveted the ancient records and treasures of the Sacred Academy and wanted to plunder them. Hence, he started a war against the Sacred Academy. After the immortal realms learned of this, they sent reinforcements from all directions, sending countless experts to deal with the devil sect. After they won, they slaughtered their way into the devil sect and razed the peak devil sect to flat ground. That battle became known as the Sacred War, and after that, no other hegemonic powers dared to act against the Sacred Academy. A just cause enjoys abundant support. Qin Wentian replied. Yes, a just cause enjoys abundant support. For a power like the Tiandao's Sacred Academy, it doesn't participate in any battles and only cares about spreading the Tao. It shouldn't be destroyed. The Gemini Palace Lords replied. Since this is the case, I will make a trip to the Tiandao's Sacred Academy first. Many thanks, Brother Qi. Also, please thank Senior Yi on my behalf. Qin Wentian spoke. It's nothing much. In fact, the Saint Lord seems to be very interested in you. He said that if there's a chance, he would definitely want to meet with you. The Gemini Palace Lords laughed. If there's a chance in the future, I will definitely pay a visit to Senior Yi. Qin Wentian knew that his fate with ancient Emperor Yi wasn't shallow. Ancient Emperor Yi had taught him many things, and the two of them were both Saint Lords of the Battle Saint tribe. He truly wanted to pay a visit to Ancient Emperor Yi. It was just that he probably wouldn't be able to find Ancient Emperor Yi in a short period of time. Okay, let's meet again if there's a chance in the future. The Gemini Palace Lords spoke. After that, Qin Wentian kept his messaging crystal. Yu Qianyu, who was in front of him, kept staring at him. When she saw the smile on his face, she involuntarily asked, "Who's the news?" Gemini Palace Lords, didn't I tell you before? They came from the Azure Mystic Immortal realms like me, and there's a connection between us. Qin Wentian replied. Right now, Yu Qianyu already knew many things about him. He told her about Qing, and Qingcheng. Since she was already his woman, Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't hide many things from her. But regarding the Battle Saint tribe, it involved the secrets of the entire tribe. He promised that he wouldn't divulge this to anyone. He naturally had to abide by this promise. You said that before this, you asked them if they have any methods to return to the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. Now, is there any progress? Yu Qianyu asked. Nothing much, let me search for the coordinates first. Qin Wentian didn't tell Yu Qianyu. If he did, this demoness would definitely want to go together with him. You lied to me. Yu Qianyu's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian. This woman was extremely intelligent, it was very difficult to fool her. Let me consider it. Qin Wentian felt a little guilty. He cupped Yu Qianyu's face as he spoke in a gentle voice. Okay, you have to bring me along. Yu Qianyu hooked her arms around Qin Wentian's neck, her expression as gentle as water. Qin Wentian almost agreed to her, but when he thought of how dangerous the journey would be, Qin Wentian decided to harden his heart. Several days later, outside the sleeping chambers at the peak of the Lifire Palace, Yu Qianyu hurriedly ran out. She rushed out of the grand formation and sent her immortal sense sweeping out. After that, she ran to the highest location outside the sleeping chambers as a look of grievance flashed in her eyes. She bit her lips lightly and shouted, "Qin Wentian, you bastard!" The Lifire Empyrean's voice thundered through the heavens and earth, causing the hearts of many to tremble involuntarily. In the Lifire Palace, who else would dare to call the Qin Wentian a bastard other than the madam at the peak of the Lifire Palace? Wasn't the relationship between the Palace Lord and the madam very good? What happened exactly? Could it be that the Palace Lord has a mistress outside? Some people shamelessly mused. Some of the beautiful serving girls even felt their hearts stirring. The previous Palace Lord had many wives and concubines. Right now, Palace Lord Qin only had a single beauty as his companion. His chances were very high. How would everyone know that their Palace Lord Qin had abandoned Yu Qianyu and sneaked away? For the next period of time, many beautiful serving girls wanted to enter the sleeping chambers at the peak of the Lifire Palace to curry favor with him. How could Yu Qianyu not know what they were thinking? Hence, these beautiful serving girls were all chased out of the Lifire Palace by Yu Qianyu, who was already in an extremely bad mood. Just because they have some looks, they actually dared to come and seduce Qin Wentian. In the future, even if Qin Wentian wanted to accept women, their looks and charm must not be inferior to hers. If not, wouldn't it be her failure? How pitiful Qin Wentian was. As the Lifire Empyrean, he didn't even have a single serving girl in his sleeping chambers. Not only did Qin Wentian sneak away, he even made Yu Qianyu fall into an illusionscape before he left. If not, with Yu Qianyu guarding him, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. Hence, he could only use this method. From this, one could very well imagine Yu Qianyu's feelings. He understood Yu Qianyu's heart. However, he also had his own worries. If this trip to the Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't work, he was prepared to traverse the immortal realms himself. He had no way to predict what dangers he would encounter, and naturally, he couldn't bring Yu Qianyu along. This was also for her sake. After leaving the Lifire Palace, he directly headed to Lifelong City. After obtaining the map coordinates of Daoask City, he used a teleportation array to traverse the immortal realms. In the lifelong realm, only lifelong city had a spatial teleportation array. In addition, there was no way for him to teleport there in one go. He had to make several transfers and traverse a vast distance. The supreme ancient immortal realms were simply too vast. The consumption of energy for this trip was extremely terrifying. If he was merely a peak-stage immortal emperor, he wouldn't be able to afford such a trip. After many teleportation arrays, Qin Wendian finally arrived at Daoask City. This was a supreme main city. Even in the supreme ancient immortal realms, it could be said to be a main city. Even the largest city in the lifelong realm, Lifelong City, couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as this. In this extremely terrifying majestic city, countless peak powers gathered. It was so prosperous that it was hard for Qin Wendian to imagine. It was rumored that countless years ago, this place was a desolate land. The rise of Daoask City was none other than the famed sacred ground of the supreme ancient immortal realms, the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Daoask City was precisely constructed around the Tiandao Sacred Academy. After countless years of development, it grew larger and larger, becoming incomparably flourishing. Daoask City was very chaotic, the relationships between the various powers were complicated. Not only were there countless local powers here, there would also be many external experts arriving here every day. Many of them wanted to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. Naturally, there were also many who came here for Daoask City. This majestic city itself was extremely attractive to cultivators. Qin Wendian soared in the air above Daoask City, his immortal sense extended out. He could sense the prosperity of Daoask City and couldn't help but sigh in admiration at how powerful the supreme ancient immortal realms was. Right now, as the Lifefire Palace Lord, he could already be considered a marquis of a region, governing boundless territories. With a single command, he could command countless experts, causing many people to feel extremely satisfied. However, when he came to a place like Daoask City, he couldn't help but sigh. So it turned out that the position of the Lifefire Palace Lord wasn't sufficient to flaunt. Chapter 1673. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. Now that the ban on the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms has been relaxed, experts from the various powers have all set off for Azure Mystic, and all of them brought many people with them. Seems like he had to send some people over as well. If not, he was worried that he would be flustered if he was alone. Everyone walked up the platform, feeling as though they were standing in the starry space. The people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy adjusted the spatial coordinates. Astral light flashed as a map of a star region appeared on the platform. Boundless astral light could be seen revolving around a single piece of land. The scenery around them changed rapidly. They seemed to be shuttling through the boundless starry space, as though there was a meteor shower beside them. They felt that their bodies were no longer under their control, like they were no longer their own bodies. Lower world. The two gatekeepers glanced at Qin Wendian and transmitted their voices over, which day? Yes. Also, in the forbidden ground of the Dark North Immortal Mountain, that crazy old freak was able to send him and Yu Huang into the supreme ancient immortal realms. What terrifying existence was that mysterious old freak exactly? Although it has declined, it was once glorious. Countless years ago, after a war, Empyreans were forbidden from entering Azure Mystic. However, the various major powers were unwilling to accept this. It's said that even after countless years, they have never stopped exploring Azure Mystic. Someone laughed. Many people knew about this. It was said that from ancient times until now, there would always be Tao elements passing down their inheritance to Azure Mystic. Was it because they wanted to recruit disciples from Azure Mystic? The Heaven Creator Saint has also arrived. Someone glanced at the experts from the Heaven Creator realm as he spoke, causing many to turn their gazes over. The Heaven Creator Saint was a personal disciple of the Heaven Creator Realm Lord and had inherited his legacy. His strength was extremely powerful, and now, he has also arrived at the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The disciples of the Heaven Creator Realm Lord are here to pay a visit to the Sacred Academy. A few figures walked up and bowed to the Tiandao Sacred Academy, appearing extremely polite. The people at the side spoke one after another. Qin Wendian felt shock in his heart. Many of these people came from transcendental powers and claimed that they were disciples of the Realm Lord. This caused Qin Wendian to feel that something was strange. Since they were the disciples of the Realm Lord, why did they have to use the name of the Realm Lord to pay a visit? He did not seem to be here to seek the Tao. Thinking of this, he could only suppress the throbbing in his heart and rest temporarily in Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qing Xian. Qin Wendian replied telepathically. The other party nodded slightly. He then looked at the crowd and said, "Please, there will be someone inside to receive you." Qing Xian. Today, the Tiandao Sacred Academy gathered all the experts who wanted to head to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Even Qin Wendian's subordinates came. All of them came here in secret. Although it was said to be a secret, it was merely because they wanted to hide it from Yu Qianyu. How can we understand the thoughts of such an existence? Since he relaxed the ban, maybe this time around, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms would have an unexpected harvest. Right now, the Tiandao Sacred Academy can be said to be a gathering place for experts. I didn't expect that even though Azure Mystic has been in decline for so long, it would still be so attractive to the point where the various world overlords would send their disciples over. A person crossed his arms before his chest and laughed. His words caused Qin Wendian's eyes to gleam with sharpness. The various world overlords had to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to borrow the power of the Tiandao Sacred Academy to head to Azure Mystic. From this, one could see that even world overlords didn't have the ability to send their disciples to Azure Mystic. Is that place the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? In that case, the surrounding astral light should be from the countless particle worlds around the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, right? Qin Wendian silently mused. An intense sense of anticipation appeared in his heart. Could he finally return? He had waited for this day for far too long. In that case, does everyone know why the ban on Azure Mystic has been relaxed? Someone asked. Many people frowned in confusion. For countless years, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms had a ban on entry. Many people didn't know why it was relaxed now. A short period of a month to Qin Wendian felt like a very, very long time had passed. But this day finally arrived. That's true. Speaking of which, it's really strange. I wonder who the person who issued the ban was exactly and why would he relax the ban at this moment, allowing people from the various powers in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms to enter, but only those below the World Overlord realm. Someone spoke in bewilderment. Everyone entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. There were people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy leading the way and they came to an astral platform. This place was incomparably resplendent and there were boundless spatial energies cascading down on this astral platform. This astral platform shone with resplendent astral light, resembling an extremely powerful grand formation. The Azure Mystic Immortal Realms are relaxed. Are world overlords still not allowed to enter? Qin Wendian asked again. These people were all subordinates of world overlords, none of them came here personally. They were shuttling through space, traversing through immortal realms. Their speed had already reached a terrifying level. However, no matter how the surroundings changed, the coordinates in front of them were still the same. This caused them to feel more at ease. The coordinates in front of them were getting closer and closer. Qin Wendian felt more and more shocked in his heart as he listened. As expected, these people came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy with the same purpose as him. He was still preparing to enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy to check on Mo Qingqing's situation. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing. The Tiandao Sacred Academy is already showing mercy by agreeing to send us into Azure Mystic. What more do you guys want? Someone roared. The Azure Mystic Immortal Realm seems to be hiding some secrets. Qin Wendian silently mused. According to these people, there was actually a reason for the Tao elements in the City of Ancient Emperors. In addition, the various major powers have never stopped exploring the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. This caused Qin Wendian to immediately think of the lifelong realm. Experts from the various powers came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy because of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? How can we know the news from the upper echelons? This time around, I heard that our movements are already too slow. Some of the hegemonic powers have the coordinates of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms and have already arrived here. We can only wait here. Among these people, there were 3 monarchs from the 9 monarchs and 2 governors respectively. They were the Eastern Governor Lin Ba and the Northern Governor Su Li. Also, some people were transferred over. This was all because Qin Wentian was worried that there wouldn't be enough manpower in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Hence, he directly sent an army of immortal emperors over. This way, things would be much more convenient when they returned. In the lower world, student Qin Wentian of the Tiandao Sacred Academy pays a visit to the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian walked up and bowed with his hands clasped in respect. Since this was a legendary place, he naturally had respect in his heart. Also, back then, the Tiandao Sacred Academy had truly given him many benefits. This was especially so for the Dao lectures in the Sacred Academy back then. Alright, we are going to activate the formation to send everyone to Azure Mystic. That person spoke and retreated. The light on the platform grew more and more resplendent until it became blinding to the eyes. A terrifying spatial fluctuation radiated out, and in the next instant, everyone only felt the constellations shifting. They had begun their journey through space. At that time, I wonder how many people would descend from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Everyone discussed. Qin Wentian was still filled with worry. However, he could only wait now. If he found the coordinates himself, even if he didn't encounter any danger, the amount of time he would need would be extremely terrifying. A month was already considered an extremely short period of time. Are the people from the Bone World here to cause trouble again? The 4 Sumer Law Kings calmly spoke, their words causing the other party to laugh coldly. This group of people was indeed from the extremely famous Bone World. After entering the Sacred Academy, everyone was led to a place to rest. In this region, not only were they here, there were many others who were here as well. Experts from all directions were chatting here. The 4 Law Kings under the command of the Sumeru Realm Lord are here to pay a visit to the Sacred Academy. Another 4 figures clad in Kasaya bowed as they spoke. There were many people following behind them. Qin Wentian came to the foot of the stairway leading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Countless people were here to pay their respects. There were also many people who had ascended the stairway. Qin Wentian walked up the stairway with many people following him. They soon arrived at the entrance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The guards at the entrance were all immortal emperors. He suddenly thought of something. Senior Yi sent a message to the Gemini Palace, telling him to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Could it be that Senior Yi already knew of the situation here? Many people glanced at Qin Wentian. One of them smiled. 1 month later, the Heavenly Talisman realm was lying dormant in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. What was their purpose exactly? In the past, Qin Wentian initially thought that it was to select some outstanding disciples from the lower world. But now that he thought about it, most probably, their purpose wasn't just this. Everyone, may I ask when we can set off? Qin Wentian asked. The 4 Sumeru Law Kings. At this moment, the eyes of some people flashed when they saw the 4 monks entering. The person who spoke was extremely skinny, his entire person was like a bag of bones. His skin was excessively fair, exuding a gloomy aura. During these days, more and more experts came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. All of them were here for the sake of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, and all of them had extraordinary statuses. There were also many who wanted to go to Daoask City. However, Qin Wentian didn't have such thoughts. He simply waited quietly, feeling that every day felt like a year. The Tiandao Sacred Academy was located in the center of Daoask City. It was like a majestic city in the sky. Boundless astral light cascaded down from the sky, as though it was connected to the great Tao of the heavens and earth. Many thanks. Everyone respectively entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. This Tiandao Sacred Academy was extremely mysterious, it was unknown how vast it was. Also, there was a world within a world, a completely different world. When he thought of the possibility that there might already be extremely powerful characters from the supreme ancient immortal realms entering the azure mystic immortal realms, Qin Wentian's heart was filled with worry. Many of the people who came here were existences on the same level as him, equivalent to ancient emperors of the azure mystic immortal realms. Once such characters arrived, they would surely be able to sweep through everything. He couldn't help but to be worried. He wanted nothing more than time to pass faster so he could instantly return to Azure Mystic. Everyone, this trip will take some time to traverse the immortal realms. Everyone, please don't panic when you are in the formation. The people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy spoke. Everyone nodded. For those who came here, the weakest among them was at the Immortal Emperor realm. They naturally wouldn't be frightened. Chapter 1674. In the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, it has already been close to 200 years since the battle against the Evergreen Kingdom. That battle was so shocking that half of the major powers in the Immortal Realms participated. There was the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, the Sunluo Immortal Empire, the Nine Emperors Immortal State, the Sun Sacred Hall, the Fo'orok race, the Heavenhold race, the Void Beast race, the White Tiger people, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, Zidi, and many other terrifying characters from the Immortal Realm surrounded the Evergreen Kingdom and killed Qin Wentian. In that battle, there were also many people who participated to protect Qin Wentian. The Evergreen Kingdom, the Immortal Qianbian Gate, the Namhuang Clan, GD, Emperor Yu, and many other supreme characters also participated to protect Qin Wentian. In fact, even the 3 devil halls of the myriad devil islands also participated. Other than this, there were also the esteemed monks of the Wenxin Temple and the extreme immortal devil Buddha. None of them were able to protect Qin Wentian. He followed the southern phoenix matriarch and descended on the Evergreen Kingdom. He was clad in 7-colored light and proposed marriage to the Evergreen Qing heir. With a cultivation base at the Immortal King realm, he killed 3 emperors in a single battle, exuding unparalleled might. But in the end, he died. That battle, if the spectators were included, over half of the peak powers in the immortal realms were present. It could be said to be a truly epoch-making battle. That battle also affected the entire history of the immortal realms. From that day onwards, the entire immortal realms entered a period of chaos. The entire immortal realms were engulfed in the flames of war. Naturally, other than that battle, there was also the fact that the Tao elements in the city of ancient emperors descended from the heavens. Because of the Tao elements, the people of the immortal realms had no choice but to fight for them. Many people wanted to inherit the same Tao element, and for the sake of becoming an ancient emperor, they had to fight until the heavens and earth crumbled. During these 200 years, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms was filled with the flames of war. It was unknown how many experts died, but similarly, there were also countless outstanding characters who rose up. Among these people who rose up, all of them were extremely famous in the city of ancient emperors. Back then, there were characters at the peak of the Immortal King realm in the city of ancient emperors. Some of them had already died and some of them were gradually climbing up to the peak of the immortal realms. There were people who once sighed with emotion. Back then, Qin Wentian defeated all his enemies. Regardless of the supreme geniuses from the Sun Gold race or the demon-level geniuses from the Fo'orok race, all of them were defeated by him. In fact, even the supreme crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire, as well as Jia Huangtian of the Fo'orok race were all killed by him, causing the anger of the Sunluo Immortal Emperor and the Fo'orok race. If Qin Wentian didn't die today, then what Qin Emperor Empire's immortal world would rules? No one knew. Everyone only knew that the Evergreen Qinger, whom he risked his life to protect back then, had already broken through to the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Her spatial energy was unparalleled, and she had terrifying killing techniques. She could even fight against ordinary peak-stage immortal emperors. Right now, Evergreen Qinger was known as the white-haired killing goddess by the immortal realms. This was because there were too many people who wanted to kill her, but the number of people she wanted to kill were also many. All of them were people who participated in the assassination of Qin Wentian back then. Hence, the pure and holy princess of the Evergreen Kingdom became known as the Killing Goddess. Back then, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor who had a grudge with Qin Wentian was hunted down by her until there was no way for him to escape. He didn't even dare to show his face in public. Naturally, this also caused Evergreen Qing'er a lot of trouble. Many people wanted to get rid of her as soon as possible, not wanting to see her continue to grow. If it wasn't for the fact that she had the peak stage emperors, Chongqing the Great and the White Emperor, as well as her master, GD, as well as many immortal emperor's senior apprentice sisters behind her, she would have long turned into a pile of bones. But even so, the Evergreen Kingdom was still in a state of chaos. The imperial palace of the empire no longer had its former glory. Everywhere was filled with rubble and dilapidated buildings. Other than Evergreen Qing'er, Qin Wentian's junior apprentice brother, Jun Mengchen, was also a supreme character now. He was known as the sovereign descending immortal emperor, exuding an unparalleled aura. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he was. Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, that adorable heaven-devouring beast, has long become a supreme greater demon. Ordinary characters wouldn't dare to antagonize it. The Samsara Emperor Hua Taishu had once acted for Evergreen Qing'er, resolving a crisis the white hair-killing god was in. If not, Evergreen Qing'er might have already died. The Grand Priest of the Judiciary Devil Islands, the Blood Emperor, was also rumored to have an extraordinary relationship with Qin Wentian. Both of them grew at an astonishing rate. Even the people around Qin Wentian were like this. Hence, some people would speculate that if Qin Wentian was still alive, what sort of shocking accomplishments would he have now? Naturally, this was merely a fantasy. If he died, he died. During that battle, Qin Wentian was killed so badly that his soul dissipated, turning into ashes. If it wasn't for that battle being too shocking, as well as his friends being too outstanding, he would have long been forgotten by the immortal realms. This was especially so after so many unparalleled characters rose up through the years. But now, these people who were by Qin Wentian's side all those years ago encountered a great crisis. Back then, when the two alliances fought in the Evergreen Kingdom, they said that as long as Qin Wentian died, all grudges would vanish like smoke. But everyone knew that this was because both sides had their own considerations and didn't have the courage to start an all-out war. If not, it would be a life-and-death struggle, with both sides suffering heavy losses. It was unknown how many people would die. Hatred wasn't something that could be settled so easily. During these years, the countless battles that occurred proved this point. That battle back then constantly affected the various powers in the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. Even now, it was still affecting them. In this vast desolate land, ever since the appearance of the demon god mountain, it was unknown how many greater demons rose up. Right now, they had already invaded every single region of the immortal realms. At this moment, in a certain location of this desolate land, the wind and sand billowed as the sky turned dark. There was a terrifying demonic chi that ravaged the entire space. The demonic beasts all retreated as they stared in shock at that place. Over there were two extremely terrifying demonic beasts. Both of them were heaven-devouring beasts that wanted to devour the heavens and earth. One of the heaven-devouring beasts looked extremely old, while the other was filled with vigor and vigor. His golden skin was incomparably resplendent, as though he was a heaven-devouring king that had just matured. However, their opponents were even more terrifying. The king of the Foarok race, Jia Yima, personally came out to hunt them down. His golden body shone with a resplendent light as his wings blotted out the sun. This king of the Foarok race had already transformed into his true form. Other than him, there was also a supremely terrifying giant beast from the Sun Gold race. This giant beast was completely made of gold and could spit out golden sun spears that could destroy everything in the world. It was terrifying to the extreme. Roar, a heaven-shaking roar rang out from the mouth of the golden heaven-devouring beast. He spat out a towering runic light, manifesting a heaven-devouring innate technique that clashed violently with his opponent. As for the aged heaven-devouring beast beside him, his body was already pierced through by a golden sun spear, nailing him to the ground. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly, dyeing the earth red. That incomparably resplendent sun spear glowed with terrifying flames. Go, don't bother about me. The aged heaven-devouring beast spat out. With a puff, another resplendent spear of the sun shot down, nailing its massive body that was just about to get up to the ground. Roar! The golden heaven-devouring beast continued to roar, golden tears flowed from his eyes. He tried many times to break out of the encirclement and bring the old heaven-devouring beast away, but he failed every single time. He unleashed a terrifying attack as boundless runic light radiated from his body, transforming into spatial energy that enveloped him as he vanished from sight. What a crafty vile beast! Jia Yimo roared. His body transformed into a beam of light as he vanished as well. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely terrifying. Kill him and bring his corpse back. That sun gold beast left behind a command. After that, he similarly sped forward, continuing his pursuit. During these years, they have long had enough of this vile beast. This vile beast had devoured many powerful demonic beasts of their respective races, causing trouble everywhere and was extremely cunning. Now that they finally caught him, they had to kill him no matter what. After they left, more demon emperors arrived. They stared at the dying old heaven-devouring beast below. This heaven-devouring beast was a famous character in the desolate mountains. What a pity! One terrifying attack after another descended, striking the body of the old heaven-devouring beast relentlessly, severing its life force completely. From afar, the golden heaven-devouring beast transformed into a golden-winged great rock and sped through the air. His large eyes were filled with tears as he inclined his head and stared at the sky. He couldn't help but reminisce about the times when he hid in the embrace of a certain someone. However, everything seemed to have happened very, very long ago. Right now, the connection between them had already been severed after that battle in the past. Did he really die just like that? In the southern regions of the immortal realms that were extremely far away from the desolate mountains, the southern Phoenix immortal city was no longer as peaceful as before. Right now, the city was on the verge of collapse. There were three ancient clans in the southern regions that had always been domineering. They were respectively the Ying clan, the Namhuang clan and the Jiang clan. The three of them each ruled over a region and maintained peace for countless years. However, ever since that war in the Evergreen Kingdom, this peace started to waver. Eventually, a war erupted. The Ying clan provoked the Namhuang clan many times and the Namhuang clan retaliated. The conflict between the two sides never stopped and gradually escalated into a war that lasted for 100 years. Many major powers were forced to choose a side. Although the Jiang clan didn't participate in the war, their attitude was very subtle. They faintly leaned towards the Ying clan, causing the Ying clan to gradually gain the upper hand during these years. And now, the Ying clan led an army from the Ying clan and launched an all-out attack against the Namhuang clan. Right now, they had already surrounded the Namhuang clan. The Namhuang clan has already summoned all their disciples back. At this moment, in the Namhuang clan, the southern Phoenix matriarch stood there, exuding an incomparably noble aura. Her expression was as calm as ever as she stood there, preparing to welcome the fated battle of the Namhuang clan. At this moment, in the inheritance grounds of the Namhuang clan, a terrifying might gushed forth. That place was where the Phoenix ancestor resided. Chapter 1675. The immortal emperors of the Namhuang clan were all here. In the air below the southern Phoenix matriarch, there were also many supreme beauties. The bloodline of the Namhuang clan was simply too outstanding. The females of the clan were all extremely beautiful. Namhuang Yunshi and Nanfeng Xinga were both the cream of the crop. Right now, the holy successor, Namhuang Yunshi, already had extraordinary strength and just recently broke through to the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm. Nanfeng Xinga also broke through to the initial stage of the immortal emperor realm. Ever since the great changes in the immortal realms, the cultivation speed of everyone in the immortal realm seemed to have sped up. But right now, Namhuang Yunshi's beautiful face was filled with coldness and solemnity. Nanfeng Xinga's pure and flawless countenance was no longer the same as before. Her countenance was filled with coldness and heroism. Their gazes would occasionally glance in the direction of the ancestral lands. The aura emanating from there made everyone understand that this war might be a war of life and death for the Namhuang clan. Everyone was silently waiting, they didn't know when the Ying clan would launch their attack. Right now, the Ying clan was still mobilizing their forces, wanting to annihilate the entire southern Phoenix Immortal City. They were even preparing to seal the entire southern Phoenix Immortal City. This was the only way. If too many people managed to escape, it would be extremely troublesome for them. Naturally, the Namhuang clan had a grand formation that led to the Evergreen Kingdom. However, this immortal war would affect the entire immortal realms. The Ying clan naturally wouldn't fight alone. During these years, the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan had always maintained an alliance. They naturally had to be on guard. Hence, this war wasn't just targeting the Namhuang clan. The Evergreen Kingdom was also having a hard time protecting itself. Right now, the Evergreen Kingdom was indeed in a whirlpool of chaos. In fact, the glorious imperial palace of the Immortal Empire was already on the verge of collapse. In fact, even the Chongqing the Great was on the brink of death. Right now, Chongqing the Great, who was already at the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, was currently experiencing the most terrifying danger in his life. Within the Evergreen Emperor Palace, on a cultivation platform, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor sat cross-legged. The leaves and branches of the ancient evergreen tree flickered in and out of existence, nourishing his body. At this moment, his life force was being corroded unceasingly as all sorts of destructive energy gushed forth from his body. His entire aura was extremely dispirited as his face turned black. Chongqing the Great was heavily injured. The people who attacked him were Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi, and Dongsheng Heaven Emperor. Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had also broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm due to a stroke of good fortune. Just a few days ago, he launched a heaven-shaking attack on Chongqing the Great, almost killing Chongqing the Great on the spot. The White Emperor and Qing Heir rushed over with their fastest speed to save him. But even so, Chongqing the Great was heavily injured and his life was in danger. Right now, he no longer had any strength to fight. Before Chongqing the Great, the White Emperor's aura was ethereal, incomparably outstanding. Jidi's aura was cold and filled with battle intent. There was another person with a stunning countenance. Her skin was as white as snow, yet she had a head full of white hair. Her aura was extremely cold, standing there like an ice sculpture. This was none other than the white-haired god of slaughter, Evergreen Qing Heir. If Qin Wendian saw her current aura, he wouldn't dare to believe it. Only to see that at this moment, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor opened his eyes. A gray light flashed in his eyes, exuding an aura of death. He stared at the figures before him before his gaze finally landed on the white-haired Evergreen Qing Er. He gently spoke, "Qing Er, can you promise father one thing?" Qing Er shook her head. She knew what her father wanted to say. This matter, she couldn't agree to it. Silly child, everyone will die one day. However, father hopes that you will be able to live on. Kill our way out together with Uncle White and your master. As long as the two of you are alive, we will have hope. Chongqing the Great's voice was gentle. He was already indifferent to his own life and death. He knew that today, it would be hard for him to escape this calamity. As long as the Evergreen Immortal Empire exists, I will exist. Qing Er's voice was as cold as ever. She wasn't moved at all by Chongqing the Great's gentle voice. It was as though her heart was made of stone. However, it was impossible for her to abandon the Evergreen Immortal Empire, to abandon her father. Qing Er. Chongqing the Great called out. Father, I'm sorry. Qing Er resolutely spoke. She turned her gaze to the side only to see a silhouette whose beauty could topple empires. Qingcheng, if there's a chance, I will send you out. Qing Er spoke in a light voice. Mo Qingcheng smiled and shook her head, as long as you are alive, I will exist. You have to wait for him. Evergreen Qing Er stared at Mo Qingcheng. Mo Qingcheng's body trembled. She naturally knew who the him in Qing Er's words was referring to. Her beautiful eyes stared into the air as she mumbled, wait for him. It has been so many years but there's no news at all. Can we still wait until he returns? I believe in him. Qing resolutely spoke. However, Mo Qingqing shook her head as a sweet smile appeared on her face. During these years, it has always been elder sis Qing who has protected me. If we can really meet him, let's wait together. If we can't, this is fate. When the White Emperor heard their conversation, he glanced at the sky as he mumbled, the astral river revolves, the universe changes. Your lives won't end here. He will return and he shouldn't be too far away. The evergreen immortal emperor had a noncommittal smile on his face when he heard the White Emperor's words. Even if he really returns, would he make it in time? Other than the few of them, the others in the surroundings were all puzzled. In the battle back then, everyone had personally witnessed Qin Wentian's soul shattering. But why did these people still firmly believe that Qin Wentian was still alive? Maybe, because they cared too much about him, they would rather believe that Qin Wentian didn't die. Changqing the Great, your life has already reached its end. Just come out and accept your death. In the air outside the royal palace, a voice drifted over. Qing Er's gaze turned cold as she stared in that direction. Her ice-cold eyes seemed to be able to penetrate through space, shooting towards the person who spoke. Her white hair fluttered even though there was no wind as her killing intent gushed forth. Evergreen Qing Er, although your hair has already turned white, there's still a special feeling in your heart. You are still so beautiful that it causes my heart to tremble. After we destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, you, Qing Er and Liuli, these three beauties, will be mine to deal with. At that time, I will make sure you serve this emperor well. The person outside insulted, his purpose was to infuriate Qing Er. The Evergreen Kingdom Palace had set up a grand formation. Right now, they were hiding within it and weren't easy to deal with them. The Nine Emperor's Immortal Emperor has already gone to summon a Supreme Emperor-ranked weapon from the Evergreen Immortal Empire. The moment he returned, he would break the formation and kill his way into the royal palace, capturing the three beauties. Although this was a provocative method, it didn't mean that he didn't have such intentions. The white-haired killing goddess, Evergreen Qing Er, had the title of killing goddess, but her beauty was also extremely outstanding. This was especially so for her white hair. If one could get such a beauty to serve them, one simply didn't dare to imagine how joyous it would be. It was said that even the heaven-seizing immortal emperor had such thoughts. In addition, Mo Qingqing and Princess Liuli, which one of them wasn't a supreme beauty in the mortal world? Qing Er's expression was cold to the extreme. She stretched out her jade-like hand as Emperor Light flashed. Terrifying law energy gushed forth as she stabbed out with her jade-like finger. In an instant, a spatial passageway opened up in the air. That immortal emperor seemed to have sensed something as his countenance drastically changed. He hurriedly retreated. But at this moment, a golden lotus flower appeared from the void, directly enveloping that immortal emperor as it frenziedly tore it apart. A scream of misery rang out as that immortal emperor was directly crushed into dust. The expressions of everyone in the surroundings changed. A resplendent beam of sword light slashed apart the space, severing the lotus flower. However, it was already too late. That immortal emperor no longer existed. The person who appeared was none other than the Paragon Sword Emperor. His eyes were like sharp swords as he stared at the Evergreen Kingdom's Emperor Palace, staring at that white-haired beauty. Evergreen Qing Er's reputation as the white-haired killing god wasn't undeserved. That initial stage immortal emperor actually dared to provoke her, inviting a calamity upon himself. The Skymist Immortal Emperor and the Taihua Immortal Emperor also walked to the side of the Paragon Sword Emperor. Their three hegemonic powers were located in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms together with the Evergreen Kingdom. Back then during the war, the White Emperor secretly acted against them. Right now, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Taihua Immortal Dynasty and the Supreme Sword School weren't any better off compared to the Evergreen Kingdom. Other than some peak characters, the rest of them were already dead. During these years, the conflict between them and the Evergreen Kingdom had never ceased. This time, Old Devil Duo Tian acted, joining forces with Zidi and Eastern Sage to kill the Changqing the Great. After that, they joined forces with the 9 emperors' immortal state to settle the remaining matters, completely eradicating the Evergreen Kingdom. And on the other side, Zidi and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had already gone to deal with Jun Mengchen and the others. This operation wasn't targeted at just a single power. It was a joint operation, targeting both the Southern Phoenix Clan and the Evergreen Immortal Empire, capturing them all in one fell swoop. At this moment, an incomparably resplendent beam of light descended from the sky. A terrifying army appeared, and the person in the lead was none other than the 9 Emperors' Immortal Emperor. He stood arrogantly in the air with a Supreme Emperor-ranked weapon strapped to his back. In an instant, a dazzling light erupted forth as countless divine weapons shot towards the Evergreen Immortal Empire. At this moment, the grand formation of the Evergreen Immortal Empire was activated as a screen of golden light lit up. Break! The 9 Emperors' Immortal Emperor didn't waste any words and directly acted. He pointed his finger forward as the divine weapon behind him radiated the will of ancient emperors, slashing out countless divine weapons that frenziedly slammed into the golden formation. At this moment, Qing walked out step by step. Her white hair fluttered in the wind as a fearsome killing intent flashed in her eyes. Inclining her head, her gaze penetrated through everything, staring at the sky. In her mind, a supreme magnificence appeared. At this moment, her hair was as white as snow, but the coldness in her eyes had vanished completely, replaced by a smile that could shake the world. If she died in this battle, she would never be fated with her in this life. If she had regrets in this life, she would make up for it in her next life. If there's a next life, I will be your wife again. Qing retracted her gaze, staring in the direction of the 9 Emperors' Immortal Emperor as her eyes turned incomparably cold. In the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms, in a city in the territory of the Evergreen Kingdom, a resplendent beam of light suddenly shot down from the sky. At this instant, countless people inclined their heads and stared at it. The beam of light landed on the ground, causing rumbling sounds to echo out as the earth trembled unceasingly. Countless people turned their gazes over only to see many figures appearing there. Each of them exuded an extraordinary aura, their auras unfathomably deep. An immortal emperor passed by. His immortal sense swept out, sensing the cultivation bases of these people. In the next instant, an expression of shock appeared on his face as his entire body trembled. He found it hard to believe his eyes. All of them were at the Immortal Emperor realm. How can this be possible? Amidst the dust, a white-robed figure slowly floated in the air. His immortal sense gushed out and instantly knew where he was. Drawing in a deep breath, his eyes gleamed with an incomparably resplendent light. Azure Mystic, I'm back. Chapter 1676. Is this place the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? From the clouds of dust, more and more figures soared up into the air. Their auras were all extremely terrifying, instantly enveloping the entire city. As expected of a declining immortal realm. Sealing it would cause it to fall behind. Ha ha ha, Azure Mystic, we've arrived at this sealed land. Voices rang out unceasingly in the airspace above the city. Countless people trembled as they stared at the experts descending from the sky. It was as though they didn't originate from this world, but from another immortal realms instead. It was rumored that there were 33 heavens and 33 immortal realms in this world. However, very few people knew about the matters of the other immortal realms. Hence, to many people, the other immortal realms were merely a legend. Right now, so many experts have arrived. Did they originate from other worlds? In that case, the rumors of many outsiders coming to Azure Mystic, could it be that they were all true? Their hearts trembled unceasingly as a thought appeared in their minds. The sky of Azure Mystic was about to change. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. Numerous figures floated up and stood behind him. Evergreen Kingdom Palace is here to look for me. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, a terrifying spatial energy flashed as Qin Wentian stepped out, directly traversing the void and leaving through a spatial gate. Right now, his heart was set on returning home, wanting to reach the Evergreen Kingdom Palace as soon as possible. He only left behind a single sentence, telling everyone to head to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to look for him. This place was very close to the royal capital of the empire, they would arrive very quickly. He knows that this is the Evergreen Kingdom. Many people felt their hearts trembling as they stared at the departing figure. Those who followed Qin Wentian here were all monarch-level governors. Which one of them didn't have extraordinary statuses? After Qin Wentian left behind his address, everything else was naturally easy to handle. He directly headed towards the direction of the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, moving with great speed. As for the others who arrived here, they all sped off in different directions. It was unknown what kind of storm would be created in Azure Mystic. In the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor was like a heavenly deity, wielding a peerless divine weapon on his back. Countless beams of light manifested from the divine weapon as they slashed out unceasingly. The grand protective formation of the immortal country trembled unceasingly as cracking sounds rang out. In the royal palace, Chongqing the Great's breathing was weak. He lifted his head to look at Emperor Bai and GD, and said, "We must take Qing with us. She won't leave." Emperor Bai shook his head. The white-haired god of massacre was no longer the weak princess of the past. How could she go along with their wishes? The Chongqing the Great understood this as well, but he was still unwilling to see his beloved daughter die here. He closed his eyes and asked himself, "Is everything I've done wrong? Qin Wentian, if anything happens to Qing, you'll be letting me down." Chongqing the Great raised his head and looked at the sky, unwilling to give up. Rumble. Another thunderous boom rang out. The cracks on the grand protective formation grew wider and wider, as though it would collapse at any moment. GD turned and stepped out, moving in the direction of Qing. She came to the side of Qing, fighting shoulder to shoulder with her. The immortal emperors of GD's followers all walked behind them, radiating emperor light. Would the battle today be the final one? The White Emperor still stood at his original location, protecting Chongqing as well as many people in the royal palace. His white robes fluttered in the wind as he stared up at the starry sky. Would they really be too late? Could it be that he was wrong? A thunderous boom rang out, breaking the train of thought of everyone. The grand protective formation was destroyed as the royal palace exploded. The royal palace, which was originally already in ruins, was now in ruins. Other than the Emperor Palace, the other locations were all covered in dust. The ruler of the Nine Emperors' immortal state, the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor, stood proudly in the air. He was like a supreme ancient king, yet also like a heavenly divinity. He stood there with a supreme killing divine weapon on his back. Beside him, the Skymist immortal emperor, Paragon Sword Emperor and the Taihua immortal lord walked out, staring at the scene below. Evergreen Qing, GD, White Emperor, Evergreen. Ultimately, all of you still won't be able to escape death today. The voice of the Skymist immortal emperor was cold to the extreme. When he thought of the destruction of his empire, towering killing intent radiated from him. Today, he could finally take revenge. Evergreen, White Emperor, have you ever regretted your actions? The Paragon Sword Emperor coldly spoke as his sword intent descended from the sky. Evergreen Qing, if I kill you directly, it would be letting you off too easily. You killed the emperors of my Nine Emperors' immortal state. I will use the cruelest methods to punish you. The tone of the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor was cold to the extreme. During these years, many people in the Nine Emperors' immortal state died in the hands of the white-haired killing goddess, Evergreen Qing, Naturally, there were also many people in the Evergreen Kingdom who died in her hands. Qing, stepped out, standing on a gigantic rock in the ruins. Her killing intent soared up into the sky as her white hair fluttered in the wind. Her aura gushed forth as her spatial energy transformed into killing intent. Her law energy traversed through space, resembling numerous golden lotuses as she shot towards the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor. The Nine Emperors' immortal emperor coldly snorted. His divine weapon radiated boundless light as countless divine weapons slashed down, piercing through the spatial lotuses, shattering them into pieces. The lotuses withered, creating a scene of desolation. Qing slowly soared into the air, preparing for this battle. Her white hair fluttered in the wind, causing one's soul to tremble. Qing raised her head and stared at the sky, closing her eyes as she sighed softly, "Without you around, what joy is there in life, what sorrow is there in death?" As she spoke, she opened her eyes. At this moment, her heart was filled with the will to die. The white-haired killing goddess has returned. My next life is too far away. I only seek this life. At this moment, in the air above the horizon, an ethereal voice rang out, resembling the voice of a divinity. At this instant, the killing intent radiating from Qing abruptly fluctuated, as though it was swaying in the wind. She stared at the sky only to see a resplendent beam of light descending, resembling a spatial gate. From there, a white-robed figure stepped out, as though he came from beyond the heavens. Qing's delicate body trembled. When she saw that figure, the killing intent radiating from the white-haired killing goddess vanished completely. At this moment, she threw away all her pretense. Her body trembled as she stared at the white-robed figure. A stream of tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. Her hair was still white, but her eyes were filled with gentleness. So the white-haired killing goddess could actually cry. As her tears flowed, a radiant smile blossomed in her eyes. At this moment, the white-haired maiden standing above the ruins was so beautiful that it caused the hearts of others to ache. The next life is too far away, I only seek this life. He has returned. The people of the 9 emperors' immortal state, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, the Paragon Sword Emperor and many other experts all had their gazes frozen. They stared motionlessly at the white-robed figure who appeared in the air, as though they had seen a ghost. How can this be possible? In the battle back then, everyone personally witnessed Qin Wendian being annihilated. From then on, in the 200 years of chaos in the immortal realms, the name Qin Wendian no longer existed. But today, he actually appeared once again. They didn't dare to believe this was real, but Qin Wendian really appeared there. In fact, he didn't even glance at them. It was like in his eyes, there was only that white-haired maiden whose beauty could cause one's heart to shatter. GD and GD's followers were all dumbfounded when they saw the figure who appeared. They didn't dare to believe this. They all thought that the conversation between Qing and Qin Wendian was crazy. But they didn't expect that Qin Wendian was actually still alive and had returned. In the Emperor Palace, the weak eyes of Changqing the Great now gleamed with a resplendent light. After that, a relaxed smile appeared on his face. In the end, he still returned. He stared at the White Emperor, "You are right again." A smile appeared on the White Emperor's face but he didn't say anything. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes stared in astonishment at the person who appeared. After that, her tears flowed uncontrollably. She knelt on the ground and covered her face as she sobbed. The sound of her sobbing actually caused the Changqing the Great and the White Emperor who were beside her to feel heartache. It must have been tough on this lass. She had been suppressed for so many years, feeling wronged and worried. Very soon, Mo Qingqing inclined her head because she wanted to see the person who appeared clearly. It has been far too long since she last saw him. Wiping away her tears, Mo Qingqing saw Qin Wendian descending before Qing, hugging Qing, in his arms as they slowly descended from the air. At this moment, there was no jealousy in Mo Qingqing's eyes. There was only the most radiant smile on her face. She stood up and sprinted towards that figure. She was like the most beautiful spirit in the world, dancing in the wind. Her steps were light and joyful, her smile was pure and flawless. Qin Wendian hugged Qing tightly. Qing's beautiful eyes stared at him in a daze, filled with gentleness and love. It was like in this world, there was only the two of them left. Qin Wendian's dreamy voice rang out, causing Qing's soul to tremble. After that, Qin Wendian kissed her on the lips, it was so gentle. At this moment, she let go of all her reservations. She hugged the man she loved tightly, allowing him to taste her gentleness. The two of them spun around in the air, descending unceasingly. The scene was so beautiful. Mo Qingqing sped over with great speed, but all of a sudden, a terrifying beam of divine light erupted forth, shooting towards Mo Qingqing. "Careful!" someone shouted. However, they only saw Qin Wentian and Qing suddenly vanishing. In the next instant, they appeared in front of Mo Qingqing, shielding her as a screen of light enveloped them. The incomparably sharp divine weapons slashed down, yet they had no way to break through the screen of light. This screen of light was even more terrifying compared to the grand formation protecting the Qin Empire. Their lips parted. Qin Wentian's other hand hugged Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing seemed to know what he wanted to do, and a shy expression appeared on her face, stirring the hearts of men. Qin Wentian hugged her tightly and kissed her. Mo Qingqing's fists pounded on Qin Wentian's chest as tears once again flowed down, drenching her flawless countenance. Qingqing, I'm sorry." Qin Wentian's hands gently caressed their faces, wiping away their tears. There was boundless guilt in his heart. Today, if he was a step late, the consequences would be unimaginably dire. The two of them gently leaned into Qin Wentian's embrace, feeling the warmth of his body. They knew that this wasn't a dream. He had truly returned to their side. In the air, the 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others stared at the figures below as their expressions turned extremely ugly to behold. And at this moment, the glow of divine weapons radiated forth. They saw a group of experts using spatial divine weapons, arriving here. These people who appeared were all immortal emperors. When they saw Qin Wentian hugging the two women, only then did they understand. So it turned out that the Light-Fire Empyrean was actually someone from the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. He killed his way up to the upper world and obtained the position of the Light-Fire Empyrean. Numerous figures descended. GD and the others stared warily at these people. Qing and Mo Qingqing also stared at these people. Qin Wentian merely held their hands and stared at the descending figures. He then spoke, "They are my wives." Su Li and the others saw Qin Wentian's eyes gleaming with sharpness. Even for Yi Qianyu and Qin Wentian had never introduced them like this before. Su Li and the others instantly understood that the status of these two beauties in Qin Wentian's heart was most probably even higher than the Madam of the Light-Fire Palace. These two were the true main wives. In an instant, some of the smarter ones immediately knelt on one knee. Upon seeing this scene, the others all knelt as well and called out in a loud voice, "Your subordinates pay our respects to Madam." Chapter 1677. These people were all at the Immortal Emperor realm. Among them, there were monarchs and governors. The others were the left and right arms of the monarchs and vice-governors. Usually, when they saw Qin Wentian, they only needed to bow. There was no need for them to kneel. However, the new Light-Fire Empyrean Qin Wentian was famous for his domineering and iron-blooded methods. He even killed the previous Light-Fire Empyrean. Right now, in the Light-Fire Palace, he could decide the life and death of people with a single word. And right now, when they saw Qin Wentian's attitude, how could they not understand the status of the two supreme beauties beside him? Qin Wentian brought them here, they naturally had to perform well and gain the trust of this new Light-Fire Empyrean. All the immortal emperors, including several peak-stage immortal emperors, knelt on one knee and bowed to their wives. Who was his wife? Qin Wentian just introduced Qing and Mo Qingqing as his wives. In that case, there was no need to doubt that the wives the immortal emperors were referring to were none other than Qing and Mo Qingqing. Silence filled the air. The gazes of everyone landed on the group of kneeling immortal emperors as great waves rose in their hearts. He returned alive, and he even brought an army of immortal emperors with him. Surround them. Up until now, Qin Wentian didn't even glance at the 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others in the air. At the instant he returned to Azure Mystic, the fates of these people were already determined. Yes, Palace Lord. The various sovereign emperors and commanders received the order. Their figures instantly shot out like bolts of lightning, and in an instant, the entire void was sealed and surrounded. The 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others stood in the air. They didn't know whether to fight or retreat. Their expressions were extremely ugly to behold. When they sensed the tyrannical auras from the immortal emperors surrounding them, they didn't know what to do. Qin Wentian glanced at the ruins of the Evergreen Kingdom. The once glorious land of Evergreen Kingdom Palace had now become like this. It was hard to imagine what kind of war had taken place here. Moreover, the Chongqing the Great had been seriously injured. When he thought of everything Qing'er and Mo Qingqing had experienced during these years, and when he saw Qing'er's white hair, he felt even more uneasy in his heart. He could only tightly hold their hands as he gently spoke, "Everything is fine now. With me here, everything will end." "Yes." Qing'er nodded. Her white hair was still the same, but the white-haired killing goddess who was once unexcelled in the world had vanished. Right now, she was like a gentle little maiden, tightly holding onto Qin Wentian's hands, wanting to melt into his palms. Mo Qingqing smiled sweetly. Her hands were wrapped around Qin Wentian's arm as her beautiful black eyes stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. It was like she wanted to see enough of him. Staring at his 2 beloved wives, the smile in Qin Wentian's eyes finally relaxed, became gentle and radiant. They finally arrived. The situation he was most afraid of didn't happen. However, the scene earlier caused him to break out in cold sweat. Qing'er actually transformed into a white-haired killing goddess and faced the immortal emperors. Her eyes were so cold, it was like she was a completely different person. He simply couldn't imagine what she had experienced during these years. How did she survive until now? Senior GD. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw GD and the others walking over. Although his cultivation base had long surpassed GD, he still respectfully referred to her as senior. This was Qing'er's master. Even at the final moment, she still stood by Qing'er's side, fighting shoulder to shoulder. "I initially thought that you..." GD also smiled. The instant she saw those immortal emperors kneeling, she already knew that everything had ended. The young man who was once unexcelled in the world, the legendary genius who killed 3 immortal emperors in a single battle when he was only at the immortal king realm had returned. He returned in such a dazzling manner, like a lofty king that even immortal emperors had to kneel before. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he was. Right now, GD basically couldn't see through Qin Wentian at all. "Did you think I'm dead?" Qin Wentian smiled. GD and her disciples all laughed. When they saw the smile in their junior sister Qing'er's eyes, all of them felt a sense of relief and happiness. The next life was too far away, they could only seek this life. He returned in such a dazzling manner, kissing the woman he loved, causing all the immortal emperors to kneel before him. A legend, he was still a legend. It was just that this legend had become much stronger compared to the past. Most probably, even the heavens wouldn't be able to bind him. Wentian will always remember Senior and the fairies' care for Qing'er. Qin Wentian sincerely spoke. Although GD and her disciples didn't have any ulterior motives or they wouldn't have risked their lives to protect the Evergreen Kingdom, he had no choice but to repay this debt of gratitude. Because, the person they protected wasn't merely the palace lord of the Evergreen Kingdom, or their junior apprentice sister. She was also his wife, Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian led Qing'er and Mo Qingqing forward, arriving at the Emperor Palace. The weak Chongqing the Great was currently smiling at Qin Wentian. His eyes were filled with vigor. "Finally, he has returned. Earlier, I was still saying that you have failed to live up to my expectations. Fortunately, I was wrong." Chongqing the Great laughed. Everything came at the right time. Fate was so mysterious. At the moment of despair, a ray of light would appear. "Great Emperor!" Qin Wentian called out. An incomparably pure life energy enveloped Chongqing the Great. The jade-green life energy devoured the corrosive energy bit by bit. The life energy seeped into every corner of Chongqing the Great's body, causing his life force to grow stronger and stronger. It was incomparably wondrous. Law of life. Chongqing the Great's heart trembled. Back then, Qin Wendian didn't cultivate the law of life. Could it be that he broke through? This was impossible. How could he break through to the immortal emperor realm in just 100+ years? Back then when he was killed, he was merely at the peak stage of the immortal king realm and had yet to step into the immortal emperor realm. Oh right, it's an avatar. The evergreen immortal emperor silently mused. He believed that his original body had already died. The one Qing and Mo Qingqing had been waiting for him all this while, was none other than Qin Wendian's avatar. How would he know that the Qin Wendian in front of him was none other than his original body? Very swiftly, Chongqing the Great's injuries recovered. Such a heavy injury actually healed completely. This was simply unimaginable, but Qin Wendian did it. Your Majesty is now a peak stage immortal emperor and you also have the eternal evergreen tree. Who else can injure you? Qin Wendian asked. Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi and Eastern Sage. You know them all. Chongqing the Great laughed. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. What a familiar name. Back then on the Demon God Mountain, Old Devil Duo Tian used the heaven-seizing bowl to traverse space and wanted to kill him. It was the Southern Phoenix matriarch who acted and saved his life. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor was none other than Old Devil Duo Tian. As for Zidi and Eastern Sage, Qin Wendian couldn't be more familiar with them. The connection between them was extremely deep. Why aren't you dealing with them? Chongqing the Great stared at the 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others. Qin Wendian had so many immortal emperors surrounding them and there were quite a few peak stage immortal emperors among them. It should be enough to annihilate the experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state. However, Qin Wendian didn't give the order and only ordered his immortal emperors to surround them. Wait for them to call for reinforcements. Qin Wendian spoke in a light voice. His calm voice caused Chongqing the Great's heart to tremble. Wait for them to call for reinforcements. Qin Wendian was planning to capture all of them in one fell swoop. Similarly, he had absolute confidence in himself. The 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others all had their immortal senses outside. When they saw these immortal emperors surrounding them but not doing anything, their hearts were filled with torment. They didn't dare to take the initiative to act. Right now, they were clearly at a disadvantage. Since the other party wanted to drag things out, they might as well. It was just that the 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others couldn't tolerate Qin Wendian's attitude. From the moment he appeared, he didn't even bother to look them in the eye. They were the leaders of the peak powers, the ruler of the 9 emperors' immortal state, the Sky Mist immortal emperor, the Paragon Sword emperor, the Taihua immortal lord. Qin Wendian, that fellow who was referred to as Palace Lord by the immortal emperors, didn't even bother to look them in the eye. How much contempt was this? Oh yeah, the Namhuang clan has most probably started a war. Let's quickly go and take a look. Chongqing the Great spoke. What's going on? Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. The Namhuang clan and the Evergreen Kingdom were surrounded at the same time. The war between the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan has already lasted for over 100 years. Right now, the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan have already surrounded the Southern Phoenix immortal city. I'm afraid today will be the day of the final battle. Chongqing the Great spoke. He then continued, the teleportation array leading to the Namhuang clan is still there. We can head there immediately. Right. Qin Wendian nodded. He held Qing and Mo Qingqing's hands as he directly headed in a certain direction. I'll bring Qing and Qingqing along. Chongqing the Great's eyes gleamed sharply. Heading there alone. Let's listen to him. The White Emperor spoke. The Evergreen Emperor nodded. Since Qin Wendian dared to bring Qing and Mo Qingqing along with him, one could very well imagine how confident he was. Qin Wendian followed Qing and stepped into the teleportation array leading to the Namhuang clan. A bright light flashed as the 3 of them directly vanished from sight. Chongqing the Great really wanted to see what level Qin Wendian has reached now. The 9 emperors, immortal emperor and the others still didn't dare to move. They were surrounded and surrounded. The immortal emperors of the Li-Fire Palace didn't follow Qin Wentian's orders. Just like what the Evergreen Emperor has said, a heaven-shaking battle had already erupted in the Namhuang clan. The flames of war enveloped the entire Namhuang clan. At this moment, in the airspace above the Namhuang clan, it was like the end of the world. Fresh blood splattered unceasingly as screams of misery rang out. In the air, a true dragon and a phoenix soared through the 9 heavens, violently fighting against each other, terrifying to the extreme. The Ying clan's old ancestor and the southern phoenix matriarch fought intensely. But from the perspective of the entire battlefield, the Namhuang clan was completely suppressed and was at an absolute disadvantage. More and more holy maidens of the Namhuang clan died. Many people had tears in their eyes as they fought. When had the Namhuang clan been in such a miserable state before? Their loved ones were dying one after another. The intensity of the battle was so intense that when the teleportation array in the Namhuang clan lit up, no one noticed it. Right now, Namhuang Yunshi was also at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Right now, she was surrounded by 2 powerful immortal emperors. When she saw the death of one of her loved ones not far away from her, her tears involuntarily flowed down. A terrifying dragon claw slashed over. Her body was still being bound by another immortal emperor. She only saw a malevolent smile on the other party's face. A strong ray of light suddenly descended, accompanied by sword will. Clattering sounds rang out, and the 2 hideous smiles suddenly became blurry. Whooshing sounds rang out, and their bodies were directly torn into pieces. Namhuang Yunshi's beautiful eyes froze. After that, a figure appeared in her vision. This figure was clad in white and had long hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, Namhuang Yunshi only felt